Girls used to fall head over heels for bullies, but times have changed. The country's new president looked at this situation and said, enough. He decided to put an end to juvenile delinquency once and for all. This place appears to be an ordinary correctional facility, yet it's regarded as hell itself by every troubled youth in the nation. Here, whether you were once a gang boss who ruled your territory or the child of a high-ranking politician, once you arrive, your identity becomes nothing more than a complete animal. Not only do they undergo non-stop, all-day, high-intensity physical punishment training, they're not even allowed the most basic human rights, to speak or eat as human beings. They can only make pig sounds and enjoy pig meals, and based on the severity of their crime type, each troubled youth gets a different letter grade marked on their chest. The higher the letter grade, the more intense the reformation required. And the reformation period lasts until they're deemed completely reformed. Just like Zhao Changsu, the youth gang leader who once terrified even the police. He was only considered fully reformed after becoming mentally disabled, unable to control his bowels. All because the Youth Protection Act existed, causing Country H's youth crime rate to spiral out of control. Not only did teachers who tried to guide them down the right path become targets of violence, but even when they injured or killed someone, they felt no guilt whatsoever, because they knew that with the Youth Protection Act, they would never be punished, no matter what. This led to an era where no adults dared to correct children's mistakes. Fearing retaliation, adults didn't dare stand up, becoming cautious around children. But all this changed after Han Mansu was elected president. He abolished the Youth Protection Act and enacted a new law called the Special Reformation Act. Lenient punishment became a thing of the past. If they committed crimes, they would receive reformation training. Only after being deemed completely reformed would they rejoin society's individuals. In short, if words don't work, concentrated discipline becomes the only solution. But strangely, today these youths are voluntarily lining up at the playground to donate blood. The adults watching think they've changed for the better, but in reality, their purpose is simply to get a blood donation certificate. Because one certificate can be exchanged for 5,000 currency at Lee Min-soo's place. And the first thing they do after getting the certificate is come to Lee Min-soo to exchange it for money. This is the business our protagonist Lee Min-soo is currently running, buying a 5,000 gift card and one blood donation certificate for 10,000. However, his purpose is only for those certificates since each one has an implicit value of about 12,000. He profits by acting as a middleman, earning the price difference. He clearly knows this is criminal behavior, yet he's not afraid at all, because for a minor like him, the worst case scenario is just receiving a warning letter. The real danger is watching out for other delinquent youths. And Lee Min-soo, who was happily counting money, suddenly gets kicked in the face. Both he and the cardboard box fly several meters away. Several delinquents approach Lee Min-soo, saying he seems to have made quite a bit of money lately. Lee Min-soo looks at these delinquents and curses, damn, his worst fear has come true. These delinquents surrounding him scoff at the newly enacted law, thinking reformation is a load of crap. At this moment, the blonde leader continuously sprays several foul-smelling yellow smoke bombs, and Lee Min-soo is pinned under him, enduring this stinking humiliation. The blonde asks him, "Don't you know to share money with others? Or are you only so bold because Chang-soo went to the correctional facility?" With that, he spits on Lee Min-soo's face. Humiliated, Lee Min-soo trembles with rage and shouts that without Zhao Chang-soo, he's just a worthless loser. The blonde says he certainly knows Chang-soo is 100 times more terrifying than him, but coincidentally, Chang-soo is getting out today. Hearing this, Lee Min-soo's pupils instantly contract. Zhao Chang-soo is the leader of the regional youth crime gang. Everyone he ever hurt suffered terrible torture, but no one dares call themselves a victim because they all fear revenge from this demon. Lee Min-soo is no exception. Just his fierce face is enough to make him tremble all over. Seeing the frightened Lee Min-soo, the blonde gets to the point. If he doesn't want to provoke Chang-soo's bad temper, he'd better hand over the money. Hearing this, Lee Min-soo fumbles in his backpack while saying no problem. But the next second, he pulls out a middle finger toward these seeing this. The blonde is instantly enraged, cursing him as a son of a bitch. A knee strike hits Lee Min-soo hard in the abdomen. Then comes a beating with him pinned to the ground. With Chang-soo gone, you think no one can control you? Do you really think I'm a pushover? Still not satisfied, the blonde's eyes catch sight of a shovel place nearby. Today, he's determined to teach Lee Min-soo a harsh lesson. A delinquent beside him reminds him to calm down. If things get out of control, he'll be sent to the correctional facility. The blonde claims he's not afraid of places like the correctional facility. He thinks as long as he acts tough, he can get out any time. Right now, he just wants to beat Lee Min-soo until he pisses himself. But just as the blonde is about to strike, his back receives a fierce kick. The student council president who appears, Kang Wook-sung, says campus violence is prohibited here. After speaking, he helps up Lee Min-soo from the ground. The surrounding delinquents recognize his identity. At this moment, the repeatedly beaten blonde doesn't care anymore. He grabs the shovel and charges at Kang Wook-sung. "Today, I'm going to kill you both, then transfer schools." After dodging the shovel, Kang Wook-sung questions whether the blonde really wants to kill him. Then one hand grabs the blonde's shoulder. With an over-the-shoulder throw, he slams him hard to the ground. "Do you can bear the consequences of murder?" Seeing he's no match, the blonde immediately calls for the others to attack. As soon as he finishes speaking, 3 lackeys charge at Kang Wook-sung. But lackeys are just lackeys after all. They're knocked down one punch at a time by Kang Wook-sung. The fat guy in orange clothing tries to ambush him, but Kang Wook-sung dodges by bending down. Then he catches the punching arm with both hands. Using the opponent's force, he executes an over-the-shoulder throw, slamming him hard to the ground. Getting carried away, Kang Wook-sung doesn't hesitate and continues charging at the last delinquent. Seeing this, that delinquent is frightened and begs for mercy. "Don't come any closer. I was just putting on a tough act." But unfortunately, he still can't escape a beating. Lee Min-soo picks up his backpack and sighs, asking Kang Wook-sung if he didn't say campus violence was prohibited. Facing Lee Min-soo's question, he turns to look, then smiles and says he should call him his name at times like this. Lee Min-soo walks forward with his head down, saying he's no longer his brother. "Stop meddling. Staying by his side will only drag him into trouble." Kang Wook-sung says he's not trouble but his brother. No matter what Lee Min-soo thinks, they'll always be inseparable brothers. Lee Min-soo pauses for a moment, then says, "Just throw away that watch. If you're adopted by a rich family, you should replace it. Even I feel embarrassed." Kang Wook-sung scratches his head and says he doesn't care. Besides, the watch on his hand needs replacing more. Walking home, Lee Min-soo can't stop thinking about Kang Wook-sung's actions. If today's incident prevents Kang Wook-sung from getting into university, that would be bad. Kang Wook-sung is both student council president and a guaranteed admissions student to medical school. His original name was Lee Hyun-soo. He's Lee Min-soo's blood-related older brother. Years ago, he was adopted by so he thinks his brother shouldn't be involved with him anymore. He should walk his own path while Lee Min-soo will find his own way to survive. And inside this abandoned clothing donation box is his path to survival. Stored here is all the money he saved during this time, 3.4 million. He still needs 6.6 million to reach his 10 million goal. So he's considering whether to go to other schools for blood donation certificates, since his school's next blood drive isn't for 3 months. As for why he's so obsessed with making money this way, it goes back to when he left the orphanage 2 years ago. Back then, although the government gave him 5 million as assistance, with that money he couldn't even afford a bathroom. And as an underage orphan, it was hard to get hired for work. So even though he knows it's a crime, this is the only way to make money quickly. Just as Lee Min-soo stores the money, he hears a whoa sound. The blonde has somehow appeared behind him. He grabs Lee Min-soo's shoulder and says, "Want me to tell you something interesting? If you're caught, money earned through crime will be confiscated by the government." After saying this, he starts laughing loudly in Lee Min-soo's ear. Lee Min-soo demands to know what he wants, and the blonde tells him he said he would make him piss his pants every time he saw him. Meanwhile, in the noisy classroom where Kang Sung is, the teacher suddenly arrives and tells them to quiet down. He has an announcement to make. Zhao Chang-soo, who went to the correctional facility, has returned. He believes Chang-soo has truly reflected on his behavior and asks the classmates to help him readjust to campus life. After hearing this, the classmates start discussing. Some say if Chang-soo hears this, the teacher will get beaten. Others say the correctional facility isn't anything special since he got out in 4 weeks. But the next moment, scene leaves them stunned. The youth gang leader they remember, the man who did every evil, has now become someone in a wheelchair with a vacant expression, shouting like an idiot that he needs to pee. Right in front of the entire class, a warm stream sprays from his crotch. Only then do the classmates realize this new Special Reformation Act is no longer child's play. Meanwhile, at the welfare orphanage, police pull up caution tape at an alley entrance, surrounded by crowds. A murder case has occurred here. The driver tells Kang Wook-sung they might be late for today's academy party because there seems to be an accident ahead causing traffic congestion. Kang Wook-sung says that place is the orphanage where he used to live. Nothing should happen there, but then he seems to see something. He immediately opens the car door in panic. The watch lying on the ground is his brother Lee Min-soo's. At this moment, a bad sense of crisis surges in his heart. He quickly pushes through the crowd and rushes forward, but the scene before him makes his pupils dilate instantly. Lee Min-soo has now been arrested by police and handcuffed, and according to Article 243 of the Special Reformation Act, he will be sent to the Reformation Correctional Facility for concentrated management in the Juvenile Simplified Court at the Reformation Correctional Facility. The judge furiously scolds Lee Min-soo as hopeless, showing no sign of reflection. "Don't forget, you're sitting there because of murder charges." Lee Min-soo keeps his head down and insists he didn't kill anyone, but the judge completely ignores him, only taking out a brick with his fingerprints and bloodstains, along with all the crimes he's committed so far. If people killed others because of bullying, stealing money, money or disliking someone, there would be countless corpses in this world. The reason he commits crimes is because he can't trust adults. He should learn to ask adults for help. Therefore, under Article 28 of the Reformation Act, a reform detention order is issued. He will go to the correctional facility with this busload of criminal youths. The instructors on the bus, smiling broadly, tell them to quiet down. They're close to their destination. Soon, the bus reaches its destination. These youths have no sense of crisis. Instead, they complain about how they'll sleep in this rundown environment. But as the bus goes deeper, they spot a group of girls with amazing figures. Their hearts immediately begin to flutter. They even start competing to pick from among these girls. The instructor quickly tells them to calm down. This is the Girls' Youth Reformation Center. Our building is on the other side. At this moment, Lee Min-soo leans against the window in silence, still recalling the judge's words about trusting adults. But even though he's telling the truth, no one believes him. How can he trust adults? Soon the bus arrives at the Boys' Youth Reformation Center. Initially, these delinquent youths are still very arrogant toward the instructors here, but the next scene leaves their mouths gaping. A group of tattooed, muscular youths are running while crying bitterly, and while running, they're making various animal sounds. This makes the newly arrived, clueless delinquents burst into laughter. At this moment, an instructor seems to notice something. He immediately shouts loudly, "All members, stop exercising!" Then those criminal youths with red letter grades marked on their chests stand at attention in perfect formation, not daring to make the slightest movement. Then the instructor shouts loudly, "Show respect to the director. All personnel, salute." Then this group raises their arms in salute in unison. The director says expressionlessly, "Team members stand in formation." Hearing this, Lee Min-soo and the others wonder if they have to do this too. At this moment, the director shows a wicked smile and then says, "Dog position!" As soon as he finishes speaking, the newly arrived criminal youths burst into mocking laughter. This seemingly simple command causes the other criminal youths to collectively slam their heads to the ground. This beast-like mode makes some of the newcomers disgust. Doesn't he know about youth rights laws? At this moment, the director points at them and says, "Looks like some pests are still disobedient." Then he shouts, "Piglets!" Then pig squeals continuously rise from those criminal youths with their heads to the ground. "In 10 minutes, I'll turn those pests into livestock." As soon as he finishes speaking, a newly arrived criminal youth tries to angrily retort. The next second, a fist smashes into his face. Lee Min-soo and the other newcomers' pupils dilate at this scene. Those criminal youths make pigs sound like hungry wolves, slowly approaching them, as if they want to release all their long accumulated resentment on these newcomers. In no time, most of them have been dealt with. The director says he likes how they are now. So from now on, you're no longer pigs. You've been promoted from pigs to servants. You can speak like normal people. Only then do these criminal youths speak human words for the first time in a while. Answering, "Understood," Lee Min-soo cunningly lies on the ground and plays dead. The remaining people are either chased by those hungry wolves or run toward the surrounding instructors seeking help. Don't be fooled by the instructors' constant smiles. They hate these social scum and parasites to the bone, so violence becomes their only means. Subtle control of force and strikes avoiding vital areas. Violence not aimed at killing achieves the teaching result. Lee Min-soo sees all of this. After all, no one wants to become a murderer, neither does he. But at this moment, the director suddenly appears in front of him. Very intense, isn't it, young man? You just arrived and should be bewildered. Yet here you are playing clever tricks. Just as Lee Min-soo is about to apologize, a foot steps on his face. No need to apologize. I like clever, cunning mice. From now on, you're a mouse to keep me entertained. And he orders Lee Min-soo to only make squeaking mouse sounds from now on. With no choice, Lee Min-soo complies. At this moment, two instructors report that everyone has been sorted out. So these newly arrived criminal youths are stripped of their clothes and made to kneel together. And what comes next is their evaluation phase. On the other side, Kang Wook-sung finds Chang-soo's home. He knocks for a long time but gets no response. So he takes out scissors, planning to pick the lock this way. Soon, the door is easily opened by him. He's mastered this lock-picking skill since childhood. When he was young, he and his brother Lee Min-soo often broke into empty houses. Min-soo stood guard in the hallway while he stole anything valuable from inside. In just 5 minutes, they could steal all the valuables from a house. They repeated this burglary behavior for several years until they were caught by police and sent to the orphanage. Only then did this life stop. Since then, Kang Wook-sung never thought he'd do it again. But today, his purpose isn't burglary but to find his brother's whereabouts. And Chang-soo, lying on the bed with his hands tied, is currently the person who knows where he is located. Chang-soo lies on the bed crying, saying he's pooped himself again. Looking at this mentally disabled youth before him, Kang Wook-sung can't help wondering what kind of reformation facility could turn him into this. They say you fell from a height and hit your head, but you have no injuries or fractures. I'm afraid there's another reason for your current state, right? But Chang-soo now can't understand his questions at all. He just keeps shouting that he needs to poop. Seeing this, Kang Wook-sung slaps his head. For you, it was only 4 weeks, but I don't know when my brother will get out. So hurry up and answer my questions. Kang Wook-sung is extremely anxious now because the evil Chang-soo became like this in just 4 weeks. He doesn't dare imagine what condition his brother will be in when he gets out. But Chang-soo is now just a mentally disabled fool. He won't give any response at all, only feeling pain and repeatedly saying he was wrong. Stop hitting him. Kang Wook-sung realizes this guy really has become mentally disabled. Continuing to question him is just wasting time. But at this moment, he suddenly discovers something on Chang-soo. This discovery is a letter grade marked on Chang-soo's chest, and this marking is the letter that every criminal youth gets marked with after entering the correctional facility. The director gives this evaluation based on the severity of each youth's case. The director scans the group and finds this batch as just boring minor characters, but suddenly he discovers someone different. That's Lee Min-soo. He excitedly stands up and shouts, "I knew my eyes wouldn't deceive me. Congratulations, Mouse Lee Min-soo. You're more violent than you look. I didn't expect the only grade A in this batch to be you. During your training period, you'll have a particularly pleasant time." At this moment, hearing this, Lee Min-soo only feels a strong sense of crisis surging. After asking around, Kang Wook-sung arrives at the gate of Yeonji Girls Middle School. At this moment, a group of girls just getting out of school walk out happily. One of the girls seems to have discovered something incredible. She hurriedly stops her friend who's still eating and, blushing, tells her to look in that direction. At this moment, Kang Wook-sung is sitting on a bicycle reading a book. Due to his overly handsome appearance, the two girls instantly become cute and approach to chat him up. The girl wearing a mask asks suggestively if he's a trainee. Kang Wook-sung takes off his earphones and says sorry, he's not. He asks if he can inquire about something, but that inadvertent smile instantly captures their girlish hearts. They say they can not only answer his questions, but also provide their home addresses. Kang Wook-sung explains he's looking for someone named Gu Se-min, but hearing the name, the girls' expressions suddenly change. They point into the crowd and say, "You're not looking for that crazy woman, are you? She just got out of the correctional facility." The next second, sensing Gu Se-min's gaze, they're immediately frightened into lowering their fingers and deliberately avoiding her. After confirming his target, Kang Wook-sung strides forward and blocks Gu Se-min. Blocked, Gu Se-min asks what he wants. Kang Wook-sung says he has some questions about the correctional facility he'd like to ask her. Hearing correctional facility, Gu Se-min shoves him aside and tells him to get lost and stop bothering her. At this moment, Kang Wook-sung bows his head and explains he doesn't mean to offend. His brother has now been sent to that place. But after hearing this, Gu Se-min doesn't stop. Just as Kang Wook-sung wonders if he asked who directly, a motorcycle helmet is thrown at him. Gu Se-min signals him to get on. She doesn't think they should talk about the correctional facility here. On the road, Kang Wook-sung asks what made her change her mind, and the reason is that Gu Se-min's brother is still there too. As for the correctional facility, she describes it with just 2 words, hell. At this moment, the criminal youths just sent to the correctional facility have already endured 3 hours of high-intensity training. They're so exhausted, their muscles won't stop trembling. They only hope this damned punishment will end soon. But the next second, at the instructor's command, Lee Min-soo shouts out mouse squeaks, while the others make pig sounds. But the instructors curse that their sounds are wrong. When shouting 1, it should be pig sounds. When shouting 2, it should be ugh sounds. So under the instructor's 1-2 commands, the criminal youths begin making pig sounds and ugh sounds while squatting. Lee Min-soo's situation is less complicated. He just needs to continuously make mouse sounds. The rising and falling livestock sounds make the director on the platform thoroughly enjoy himself. He thinks livestock sounds are always so wonderful. At this moment, one criminal youth collapses from exhaustion. What greets him is the instructor's fists and kicks, followed by shouting, "Someone fell behind, everyone start over." The criminal youth explains his stomach really hurts and begs the instructor to let him go to the bathroom. The instructor says, "Weren't you arrogant when you first came? Now you can't even handle this?" At this moment, the director notices the situation and stops the instructor. He comes to the criminal youth and says, "You must have endured for a long time before speaking, so don't be afraid. Stand up. I'll give you a chance to use the bathroom." Then he asks the crowd, "Does anyone else want to use the bathroom?" Seeing the director's understanding appearance, the crowd starts responding one after another. Soon, those wanting to use the bathroom form a long line. The instructor beside them keeps asking, "Anyone else want to go? If you don't go now, there won't be another chance." Seeing no response, the instructor orders the remaining personnel to restart training. Lee Min-soo in the line is thinking, are they really going to send them to the bathroom? If those who don't go have to continue training, then everyone will pretend their stomach hurts and drop out, just like some people ahead have already started playing tricks. Besides, the director previously looked like he wanted to kill them. This current behavior makes Lee Min-soo feel very strange. After all, kindness without cost is like unknown fruit on mountain trees. The sweeter and more tempting it is, the more people can't resist reaching out to pick it. So after some thought, Lee Min-soo raises his hand and makes mouse squeaks. The instructor runs up and asks his name and what he wants. Lee Min-soo still only makes mouse sounds until the instructor orders him to speak human words. Only then does he say his stomach suddenly doesn't hurt and he wants to return to into training. As soon as he finishes speaking, the instructor suddenly grabs his neck and angrily scolds him, thinking this is a joke. Lee Min-soo explains he might have exerted too much force, startling his stomach, which made him want to use the bathroom. But he's fine now. Get back, you bastard, I'll be watching you. Lee Min-soo, who drops out of the bathroom line, is mocked by other criminal youths. But Lee Min-soo knows clearly that the people here see them as livestock. Using the bathroom is a human thing. It has nothing to do with livestock. Soon, the criminal youths wanting to use the bathroom are arranged together. The director gently extends his hand and says, whether human or animal, everyone needs to use the bathroom. Holding it will cause problems. You have 30 minutes of rest time. At these words, those criminal youths in the bathroom line show victorious smiles. But at this moment, the director suddenly points at them and says, what are you smiling about? I wasn't talking about you. But those who didn't go, they can rest now. As for you, now you begin human centipede training. At this moment, Lee Min-soo is extremely grateful he sensed something wrong and chose to drop out. Centipedes are arthropods belonging to the Chilopoda subphylum. They basically have 15 pairs of legs, up to 177 pairs maximum. They're a lower existence than humans and beasts, and these criminal youths will support themselves with both hands, head to buttocks. If anyone falls during the process, the timing restarts. This is the dear director's fully automatic digestive toilet built for them. During the process, they also have to endure constant beatings from the instructors. You insects wanted to shit, didn't you? Now why isn't anyone shitting? Soon, 30 minutes pass. The instructors wash their bodies with cold water to prevent the stench from polluting the air. The criminal youths who 3 hours ago were like wild beasts have now become livestock ready for slaughter. As dismissal bells ring from the speakers, today's training session finally ends. And what comes next is mealtime and dormitory assignment. Lee Min-soo looks at the food in the tray that looks like pig feed. He wonders if this is really something humans can eat. No seats, no utensils, a crowd eating like livestock. Before eating, an instructor requires them to sing the gratitude song. Just as Lee Min-soo wonders what the gratitude song is, at the instructor's command, the instructors, smiling broadly, begin singing collectively, "We are not human. We are pigs and dogs. We eat whatever we're given." This gratitude song is framed and hung in the center of the cafeteria. Lee Min-soo realizes these people don't just verbally treat them as livestock. They truly see them as livestock in the real sense. He grabs the food with his hands and puts it in his mouth. No matter if his identity is livestock or some other animal, the only thing he needs to do now is endure until he can leave. Meanwhile, Kang Wook-sung is brought by Gu Se-min to a hilltop. From here, the entire appearance of the Reformation Correctional Facility can be seen. Kang Wook-sung asks if she really thinks that place is hell. Gu Se-min says hell is better than that place. It's not a place for humans at all. She often has nightmares about what happens there every day. Now she can't sleep without taking large amounts of sleeping pills. She says seeing him like this, he really cares about his brother. Kang Wook-sung says this was their mother's dying wish, hoping he would always protect him. But in the end, he still couldn't do it. That's why he came to find Gu Se-min. He must do something soon, or it will be too late. And among those released from the correctional facility, only Gu Se-min looks completely unaffected. Gu Se-min asks if he wants to know how she survived the correctional facility. Hearing this, Kang Wook-sung hurriedly asks, "So there is a way? How did you safely get out of there?" The next second, Gu Se-min makes a foolish expression. Then she says she pretended to be a fool like this. Kang Wook-sung thinks she's joking and dissatisfiedly tells her to be serious and stop messing around. But after hearing this, Gu Se-min lifts her hair. Her scalp is covered with burn scars. At this scene, Kang Wook-sung's pupils dilate instantly. That place is where all the nation's top psychos gather. A moment of impulse led to conflict. Who would think they'd put someone's head in a pot of hot oil? And looking like that just now, they let me out early. Hearing this, Kang Wook-sung lowers his head and keeps apologizing, but Gu Se-min tells him not to pity her, or she'll kill him. Then she says, "You asked what the marking means, right?" After they all arrive at the boys and girls training grounds, the juvenile criminals will have their levels determined based on their crimes. After that, room assignments will be based on these grades. For example, grade E rooms are simple violent crime cases. Grade D rooms are drug-related cases. Grade C rooms are theft and fraud cases. For reference, the grade B room she was in was for assault. And based on what you said, your brother Lee Min-soo is definitely in a grade A room, because this grade of room is where the most vicious criminals gather. All youths who went in because of murder charges. As soon as Lee Min-soo steps into the room, he draws their fierce stares. He understands this is a confrontation, so he can't back down. At this moment, one criminal suddenly speaks. "Damn guy, don't you know how to introduce yourself?" He rubs his fists together and demands to know where Lee Min-soo came from and why he's here. Lee Min-soo answers he's from the welfare orphanage and attends Jangle High School. As soon as he finishes, these veterans all start laughing mockingly, saying, "Another kid from the elite track orphanage." One veteran even says he knows someone from Jangle High School. He remembers it's a third-year student named Zhao Chang-soo, but suddenly a loud shout to shut up rings out. Several veterans are immediately frightened into a cold sweat. A long-haired veteran asks Lee Min-soo why he came in. "If you're assigned to this room, you must have caused quite a bit of trouble. Based on the situation just now, this long-haired guy should be the boss of this room." "So," Lee Min-soo says without hesitation. "Because of murder." As soon as he says this, everyone except the long-haired veteran widens their eyes. Cold sweat starts forming on their faces, saying, "This can't be a lie, can it?" And their bizarre reaction makes Lee Min-soo think, could he be the only one who killed someone? He thought they'd group him with similar crimes, but now it seems murder is the most serious here, and the severity of the crime apparently relates to the power distribution here. At this moment, one veteran suddenly says to the long-haired guy, "Looks like our pet dog will have to continue being the rookie." Lee Min-soo is a bit confused. Could that long-haired guy not be the boss but the lowest one here? But the next second he realizes his thought was wrong. They're not talking about that long-haired veteran, but about the white-haired guy being used as a bench under the long-haired guy's butt. He's the lowest one here. The long-haired guy suddenly stands up and complains, "Sitting like this is really uncomfortable." After hearing this, the white-haired guy who just spoke human words to apologize gets beaten by a veteran, accusing him of speaking human words again. Helplessly, the white-haired guy can only make mouse-like squeaks. This scene is exactly the same as Lee Min-soo's previous experience. The weak are bullied whether outside or inside. So at this moment, Lee Min-soo secretly makes up his mind. If they think they can order him around, he'd rather accept being treated as a murderer. At 7 in the evening, it's their reflection time. The criminal kids at the correctional facility must write 10 self-reflection essays every day. But Lee Min-soo doesn't know what to write. After all, that blonde who bullied him wasn't killed by him. Suddenly, a wad of paper lands on Lee Min-soo's desk. 2 veterans are using the reflection paper to play a baseball game. Lee Min-soo curiously asks if they're not writing reflection essays. That veteran says, "Why bother with that crap? Our pet dog will write them all for us anyway." And he tells Lee Min-soo not to write either. Just give it all to the pet dog. But at this moment, the white-haired guy clutches his crotch and makes 2 barking sounds. Only after getting the veteran's permission does he speak human words to say he needs to use the bathroom. The 2 veterans don't make it difficult. They agree to this request. But just as the white-haired guy is about to relieve himself, one veteran kicks him in the butt. He says the white-haired guy is just a dog now, not a person, so he should pee like a dog. Under the supervision of the 2 veterans, the white-haired guy has no choice but to comply. 8 in the evening is shower time. Everyone has 3 minutes to shower using only soap and water. And what Lee Min-soo can't stand is that one small bar of soap is shared among 50 people. 9 in the evening is the instructor's inspection and roll call time. The veterans and Lee Min-soo count off from 1 to 5 in order. But when it's the white-haired guy's turn, he shockingly makes a barking sound. Without thinking, this is clearly a threat from these veterans. If he doesn't comply, he'll get beaten after the inspection ends. And if he does comply, he'll get beaten by the instructors. Whichever choice the white-haired guy makes, he can't avoid a beating. But the white-haired guy can tell. A short beating is more humane than prolonged torture after the inspection. 10 in the evening, lights out and sleep, ending the day. At this moment, Lee Min-soo's heart is filled with mixed emotions, unable to sleep, because the white-haired guy sleeping next to him is crying intermittently. A senior inmate just complains, "Why are you crying like a human?" White hair immediately covers his mouth, sobbing while making squeaking sounds. Living in the correctional facility, they must wake up early. 5:30 in the morning is time for cleaning and roll call inspection. At 6 o'clock after roll call, staff members arrive to deliver breakfast. At the table, Lee Min-soo asks curiously, "Why don't we eat in the cafeteria?" The bald senior inmate tells him, "It's because there's outdoor training this afternoon, so today they're eating indoors." This time, the instructors even humanely prepared spoons for them. Min-soo continues, "Where did the pet dog go during mealtime?" Hearing this, the senior inmates all look down beneath the table. That's when Min-soo suddenly realizes this inexplicably appearing table is actually white hair serving as one. Min-soo says, when he's working, he should at least get some food. The bald senior tells him not to worry. They'll care for Bobby like friends. The tattooed senior chimes in, "That's right. Where else can you find friends who'll personally feed him?" With that, they dump their leftover food together and stir it up. A delicious dog food meal made by good friends appears. This is Bobby's special meal. The white hair is deeply repulsed inside. He has no choice but to get down and eat like a dog, fearing a beating. But just then, Min-soo kicks over the table with a shout, "Don't eat that!" The senior inmates are left puzzled by the scene. Min-soo asks white hair, "Are you really treating yourself like a dog, Moon Hyun-jun?" But instead, white hair shows no sign of hope or gratitude, only sheer terror on his face. This all comes from the long-haired senior, Gu Si-hyun. He warns Min-soo, "This place has its own hierarchy system and rules. You came late, so you must follow these rules. If you don't like it, fight to become the leader. But before that, you need to defeat white hair Bobby first to earn that right. Because once the challenge is issued, white hair's rank is above Min-soo's. If Min-soo loses, he'll become the new pet dog in this room." Min-soo curses, "This damn hierarchy game is so childish." But what he doesn't realize is that white hair Moon Hyun-jun is staring at him like a hungry wolf. Just as Min-soo says they should stop this, white hair's fist already crashes into his face. He knows today might be his only chance to escape the pet dog status, so he can't miss it. Seeing the fight, the senior inmates start shouting, "Good job, Bobby. This is your chance to shed your rookie status." They also taunt Min-soo, "Why aren't you fighting back? Do Do you want to become the new pet dog? Min-soo knows that losing this fight means falling to the very bottom, but white hair beating him while wiping away tears truly puzzles Min-soo. Meanwhile, Kang Wook-sung arrives at the welfare orphanage. The director says he's enlisting tomorrow. Has he taken everything he needs? Wook-sung, holding a penguin doll, says everything's packed. These are treasures to me and Min-soo, the director says. Those two brothers were the biggest troublemakers in the orphanage, especially Wook-sung, always fighting other kids. The children were so scared they didn't dare come near the orphanage. Wook-sung explains that she misunderstood. Though I did fight with the kids often, they weren't afraid of me. They feared Min-soo. He's the real terrifying madman. Once he snaps, no one can stop him. Right now, white hair cries, "I'm sorry," while his fists and feet show no mercy. He has only one goal in mind. He no longer wants to be Bobby like before. Min-soo gets beaten down, holding his head with both hands on the ground. The bald senior, who was previously afraid after hearing Min-soo was a murderer, now shows his true colors. Seemingly convinced Min-soo has already become Bobby. Not satisfied with just beating him, he taunts verbally, "This is why your parents abandoned you, you trash loser new Bobby." But the moment he finishes speaking, his head receives a violent punch. As if a key word was triggered, Min-soo completely transforms. With just one punch, he knocks the bald senior unconscious. This scene leaves everyone else stunned, especially white-hair Moon Hyun-jun, who stands frozen in place. Just as Wook-sung said, he's the one who's truly terrifying. And when raged, Min-soo has only one thought in mind, to turn everyone here into Bobby. "I told you, you will all become the new Bobby." But then a senior kicks him in the back. 3 seniors have now teamed up. "Turn us all into Bobby? Are you insane? Don't act tough. This is Greater Room. This place is full of people who think they're tough. We've been lenient with you because you're an abandoned orphan." But before he can finish, a plunger gets shoved into his mouth. Now, because the key word was triggered again, Min-soo becomes even more furious, roaring, "Shut up!" Then he punches the senior's face, breaking the plunger into 2 pieces. Seeing this, the other 2 seniors can't sit still anymore and rush forward. One even threatens to, but the next moment, Scene freezes them in place. Min-soo holds the broken plunger like a weapon, his eyes like a madman's as he points it at them. "Kill me. Have you ever killed anyone before?" Meanwhile, at a golf course, Councilman Kang casually swings his club, and his subordinates immediately applaud, kissing up to him. Wook-sung kneels nearby. The councilman asks him how he got that thing. Wook-sung says that although it's early, he's ready to enlist. The priority is solving youth problems. It'll benefit your political career. Hearing this, Councilman Kang chuckles. "The guy thinking of me lost his medical school admission. Explain it clearly, Wook-sung. Is it because of that brother of yours in the correctional facility? But even if you enlist now, there's no guarantee you'll be assigned to the youth correctional facility." Hearing this, Wook-sung says, "That's exactly why I'm here asking for your help. If anyone can make it happen, it's you, father." But the councilman responds, "Why should I clean up your brother's mess?" Just as Wook-sung thinks his father ultimately won't help, the councilman changes his tone. "If you perform well in the future and help me become president, why not? Come on, help your dad become president." At this moment, Min-soo, like a hungry wolf, roars at the seniors, "You bunch of bobbies, are you ready for punishment?" But the next second, the senior who was knocked down suddenly gets up and tightly restrains Min-soo with both hands. Then the bald senior doesn't hesitate to punch Min-soo in the head. After one punch, Min-soo instantly goes silent. The senior worries he might be dead, so the 2 who struck him start shifting blame. But this is all Min-soo's act. He suddenly exerts force, headbutting the chin of the senior restraining him, then immediately kicks the bald senior in the crotch. In just an instant, Min-soo completely turns the tables. Then Gu Si-hyun walks toward him. "Your trigger word must be mother, or is it abandon that makes you angry? How heartbreaking. Does your mother know that the son she abandoned became a murderer?" The moment he finishes, Min-soo stabs at him with a sharp plunger handle, but Si-hyun easily catches it with one hand. Min-soo snarls, "Apologize now unless you want to lose your eyes." Se-hyun asks in confusion, "Why should I apologize? For your mother abandoning you or for you committing murder? Enough, let's stop here." With that, Se-hyun releases his grip. He shouts, "It wasn't me, he started it," then turns around and assumes a hands-on head position. Min-soo still doesn't understand what he's talking about when he turns his head to see 3 guards with batons rushing at him. "You maggot causing trouble right after arriving." The other senior inmates already have their hands on their heads, all against the wall. What awaits Min-soo is a fierce beating with batons. Si-hyun reports, "Lee Min-soo attacked people in the room with a weapon. Someone got injured in the process. I'll write the details in a report and submit it to you," the instructor asks them. "Did you do nothing? Did he cause all this himself?" Everyone answers in unison. That's right. After thinking, even pet dog White Hair replies, "Yes." Then Min-soo is dragged to the door like a dead dog by the instructor. What awaits him will be 15 days of solitary confinement. The solitary room is also called the punishment room, a place to isolate troublemakers for a period of time. Days spent here don't count toward total detention time. This means Min-soo has extended his own detention period. Not only is he monitored 24 hours a day, but he must also maintain a kneeling position until sleep. Even worse, his hands and feet are restrained. He can only eat like an animal using his mouth. Only when using the toilet are the restraints removed. But there's another terrible problem. No toilet paper. He can only use the water faucet behind him to clean himself. After 7 o'clock, there's also reflection time. Even in solitary confinement, he must write a reflection letter. This time, Min-soo writes twice as much as before, but everything he writes is about the characteristics of the senior inmates in the room. He believes everyone here is problematic, but the biggest problem lies with the long-haired Gu Si-hyun. No matter what, he must take down this bastard. Unknowingly, Min-soo falls asleep. He dreams of things that happened when he was a child. He and Wook-sung stand in front of a house engulfed in flames. Then he suddenly wakes up with tears streaming down his face. Min-soo bangs his head on the ground, cursing, "Damn it! Perhaps this environment keeps bringing those terrible memories into his dreams." This makes Min-soo afraid to fall back asleep, because he fears having the same nightmare again. Soon, the 15 days end. Min-soo returns to the designated room. He faces the senior inmates with fierce eyes about to explode. But unexpectedly, the seniors apologize with smiles. "We're sorry. We went too far before." Bobby has decided not to play Bobby anymore. From now on, seeing this, Min-soo thinks they've genuinely reformed. But just as he's about to accept their apology, the next second, Min-soo's head receives a kick. Se-hyun, who struck, taunts, "Were you looking for me, mama's boy?" Two seniors follow immediately, restraining Min-soo's limbs. They stuff a stinking sock into his mouth so he can't make sounds to alert the instructors. Step by step, they carry Min-soo toward the toilet. Se-hyun says, "I'm glad you missed me so much, but unfortunately, there's someone even more eager to see you." With that, the bald senior slowly removes his clothing and keeps approaching Min-soo in the toilet. Just as Min-soo thinks he's about to be violated, a shout of enough instantly stops the senior's actions. Se-hyun looks at the arriving guard. "You look like a new guard, but don't meddle. We're doing this with permission. No one's permission matters. Your punishment will be dealt with later." The guard slowly approaches and extends his hand to Min-soo. Min-soo looks up and freezes the moment he sees who it is. Kang Wook-sung suddenly appears as a guard. He extends his hand to Min-soo, already having calculated a plan. As long as Min-soo follows it, he'll soon regain his freedom. But right now, Min-soo bypasses him and delivers a heavy punch straight to the bald senior's jaw. "What were you trying to do taking off your pants just now?" Min-soo also knows the real culprit isn't the bald guy, but the room boss Gu Se-hyun standing before him. So without hesitation, he assumes a fighting stance and challenges Se-hyun. Meanwhile, the other three seniors surround Wook-sung. They size him up. "You look too young to be a guard, but either way, every room has its own rules and these rules are permitted. Or will you follow this room's rules too?" Wook-sung responds, "You mean the fighting rules? Then I guess I need to follow the rules too." Hearing this, the seniors show smug smiles. "Then don't go back on your word and use your guard status to settle scores later." Wook-sung smiles slightly, indicating he's always a man of his word. On the other side, Min-soo, no matter how he swings his fists, he can't touch Se-hyun at all. Se-hyun mocks him. "You don't even have the strength to stand steady, yet you're shouting." Taking this opportunity, he turns to check on the situation with the others. He discovers that in just that instant, Wook-sung has subdued everyone. The seniors didn't even have a chance to fight back. Just as he wonders what's happening, Min-soo's attack arrives quietly. Distracted, his chin receives a fierce blow from Min-soo. Then Min-soo shouts triumphantly, "You're fighting me, please don't look around." Having taken that hit, Se-hyun's veins bulge slightly on his forehead. He thought that by holding back before, Min-soo would know when to stop. But now, he decides to personally teach this guy a harsh lesson, to make him understand what a real power gap is. Do you know why Bobby became Bobby? The unyielding Min-soo stands up again and kicks at him, shouting, "What, Bobby? I don't care. Bobby was once the room boss here, just like you, not knowing your place and acting recklessly, getting beaten one-sidedly." Min-soo clearly understands the gap between them, but he believes he absolutely cannot lose so easily. So he swings his fist again. "In this room, you're the most pathetic bastard." But what greets him is a fierce strike. After this blow, the room falls completely silent. Min-soo feels all the strength drain from his body, his consciousness foggy, yet he's still thinking, "Damn it, I got beaten by that bastard who insulted my mother." Besides that one sneak kick, he couldn't even land a single hit. More importantly, every time he gets beaten, Wook-sung is present. Wook-sung asks Min-soo, "How do you feel? Still alive?" But Min-soo simply closes his eyes and passes out. Wook-sung looks at him and sighs helplessly. Then he hoists Min-soo entirely onto his shoulder. Se-hyun watches them preparing to leave and asks where he's taking Min-soo. He needs to learn his lesson. Wook-sung responds, of course, to solitary confinement. He disrupted order and must be punished, but Se-hyun says at this moment, "You performed well just now. How about a fight with me?" Wook-sung says if he doesn't want to be punished, he should take back those words. Also, "Please don't fight. That's what your sister said." Hearing this, Se-hyun freezes in place. When Min-soo wakes up again, he finds himself back in the solitary room. He resentfully decides in his heart that next time he returns to the room, he'll definitely shave off all of Se-hyun's later. Feeling sharp pain in his stomach, he squats over the toilet. After relieving himself, he discovers the faucet won't produce water. This means his hands won't be able to be washed after wiping. But then he notices toilet paper placed nearby. He feels strange. This time in solitary, not only is there toilet paper available, but his hands and feet aren't even restrained. That's when he realizes he seems to have forgotten something important. Suddenly thinking of something, he punches the iron door and shouts at the guard outside, "How did you end up here? Are you insane? Why come to this place instead of going to medical school? Since you have a a stepfather, just live happily. Why play hero to save me? Get the hell out of here now. Don't worry about this murderer anymore. Why ruin your own life for a killer? Wook-sung calmly responds, no matter who says you're a murderer, I believe you didn't kill anyone, Min-soo, because you're my brother. Then Wook-sung explains his entire plan. Min-soo just needs to follow what he says, and he can leave here early, as long as he doesn't keep getting thrown into solitary like an idiot. Min-soo says all of this is fine, but before that he has one request. He wants to fight that long-haired bastard again. Wook-sung asks him, knowing you'll lose, why fight him again? Min-soo explains because that guy insulted mother. The moment he finishes, Wook-sung falls silent. Then he says, I can tolerate everything else, but not someone who insults mother. So for this duel, I'll teach you how to win. But if you lose again to that person who insulted mother, I'll kill you myself. When the 15 days of solitary confinement end, Min-soo faces the vicious seniors surrounding him and actually volunteers to be Bobby, getting down on the ground like a pet dog. This is the first strategy they discuss during those 15 days. Endure and submit to wait for an opportunity to strike back. Just like that, Min-soo becomes the second Bobby in the room. His back is used by the seniors as a game board for playing Gomoku. But after just an hour, Min-soo can't take it anymore. He angrily stands up suddenly and roars, startling two seniors. The seniors glare at him viciously. Changed your mind about being Bobby now? Want us to re-establish the hierarchy for you? Hearing this, Min-soo's veins bulge all over. He really wants to beat up this guy in front of him, but he promised Wook-sung to endure for 5 days. After 5 days, even if the superintendent interferes, Wook-sung will handle everything in this room and set up the stage for Min-soo's revenge. Right now, all he needs to do is keep enduring. Thinking this, Min-soo props himself up, using his clean abdomen as the board, and telling them to start a new game. On day 2, he's learned to clean like a spider. On day 3, he and White-Hair Bobby are responsible for the seniors' reflection essays together. By day 4, he can not only urinate like a pet dog, but also eat the special meal prepared by the seniors while calling out, so delicious. Min-soo knows that if he just endures today, it'll all be over. But the inhumane mixed food still makes him vomit in the toilet. White-Hair kindly says, if you throw it all up, you'll be too weak. He smiles and hands Min-soo a candy, telling him not to tell others or they'll both get beaten. Let's just do our best being Bobby here. Don't think about anything else. For a moment, Min-soo doesn't know how to handle this sudden kindness, but his time as Bobby is only until today. But often, accidents happen at moments like these, during outdoor group activities. The seniors are playing a frisbee catching game with the two Bobbies, Min-soo and White-Hair. But while chasing the frisbee, White-Hair accidentally bumps into members of the kitchen crew. The ones who were bumped glare fiercely at White-Hair. What's going on? Want to fight us? White-Hair trembles and asks, want to play frisbee together? Meanwhile, Si-hyun is lying leisurely on the ground, wondering how Wook-sung knows his sister. But suddenly, a shout interrupts his thoughts. 3 kitchen crew seniors question him, is this dog on the ground yours? You idiot can't even watch your own dog? Was it intentional? Want to start a war with our kitchen crew? Seeing the room member getting beaten, the seniors immediately roll up their sleeves, demanding an immediate apology. If you want war, bring it on. We're not afraid. But then Se-hyun says, forget it. Don't make this bigger. Let's handle it rationally. No need to escalate. Hearing this, the kitchen crew's senior chuckles, then delivers a heavy kick to White-Hair's head. Your rationality really pisses me off. Seeing this, the seniors collectively turn their heads and pretend not to see. They think going to war with the kitchen crew over one Bobby really isn't worth it. Min-soo asks them, don't the guards care about these things? The seniors say, the guards don't care about these small fights. They usually let us solve it ourselves. Hearing this, Min-soo's face darkens as he stands frozen. His heart is making a choice. On one side is the candy White-Hair kindly gave him that day. On the other is his promise with Wook-sung about the plan. In the end, he chooses to turn away coldly. The kitchen crew senior beats White-Hair while taunting them loudly. Your pet dog feels great to beat. Can I borrow him for a few days to have some fun? The moment he finishes, a frisbee slams hard into his face. The kitchen crew senior falls instantly, unable to react. The seniors turn back to see who threw it and are all stunned. And that person is Min-soo, who chose kindness. You bunch of thugs came here after causing enough trouble outside, huh? So you want to continue the crap you did outside here? Here you're just a bunch of livestock. Livestock with no dignity or pride. That's why you pick on the weaker ones. Just as Min-soo is about to pull White-Hair up, Si-hyun walks over at this moment. I said, don't interfere. Can't you understand human speech? At the same time, the red-haired kitchen crew senior comes over and grabs Si-hyun's shoulder. What's your meaning? Should I go tell our boss you're declaring war on us? Go ahead and declare war. But before that, I need to handle our internal matter first. Hearing there's going to be a fight, the delinquent youths immediately surround them to watch the show. Min-soo knows he's messed up the first promise, but he'll keep the other one. Si-hyun ties up his hair and asks Min-soo, want another beating? Min-soo fearlessly responds, how about a bet? Whoever wins becomes the room boss. At this moment, Wook-sung in the classroom has already handled everything. The kids in the correctional facility are all minors, so they're scheduled for basic classes at specific times each week. During class time, all authority belongs to the classroom supervisor. In short, during basic classes, whatever happens is entirely up to the supervisor. Wook-sung obtained the opportunity to become supervisor during this period, and today, Min-soo will defeat Si-hyun to become the new room boss. In his plan, their duel will take place in a small area formed by several desks. Wook-sung checks his watch, puzzled. The time has come. Why haven't the main characters arrived yet? Then commotion outside catches his attention. He looks closely and discovers the duel between the two has already begun. Seeing this scene, Wook-sung sighs helplessly. Then he steps onto the windowsill and shouts down, "Min-soo, you're such a bastard!" Though during the 15 days in solitary, Wook-sung repeatedly taught Min-soo the same combo technique every day. First step, hook. Second step, liver punch. Third step, uppercut. Fourth step, mid-level kick, front kick plus roundhouse kick. Then follow with a leg sweep, finish with a straight punch. But Wook-sung knows this alone isn't enough to defeat Si-hyun, though Si-hyun has such strength without training. In Wook-sung's view, his techniques are flashy, but lacking substance, with no coherent flow between moves. As long as Min-soo masters this combo technique in 15 days and fights in the special battlefield classroom he arranged, with many corners to trap him, using the environment to force him into a corner. Once Min-soo achieves this, his combo will definitely hit Se-hyun and defeat him. But now Min-soo has completely disrupted the entire plan. Wook-sung rushes downstairs at this moment, thinking his brother is as disobedient as always. When he arrives, the human wall formed by the delinquent youths prevents him from seeing the situation clearly. So now there's no time for plans. He can only use his identity to stop this fight. But then, a piece of popcorn suddenly flies toward him. The superintendent questions him, "What are you doing? Why ruin my fun?" Seeing it's the superintendent, Wook-sung immediately salutes. "I'm the new guard, Kang Wook-sung. These kids are fighting, so I was about to stop them." The superintendent scolds him. "Why stop them? Haven't you watched Kingdom of Beasts? That kind of foreign wildlife program? Suppose in that program a snake wants to eat a mouse. What action does the film crew take? Nothing, of course, because the snake eating the mouse is part of the natural order. Friend, we shouldn't interfere with their fights. Respect the natural order. Besides, isn't watching others fight quite interesting?" Seeing the superintendent's crazy demeanor, Wook-sung realizes all he can do now is follow orders. Min-soo keeps trying to attack with the combo technique Wook-sung taught him, but still can't hit Si-hyun at all. Instead, he gets punched in the face again and again. Just as Wook-sung said, without a wall, the combo technique alone isn't enough to hit him. But the disparity in their strength leaves Min-soo, currently able to rely only on the combo technique to launch attacks. But a soulless, empty shell is ultimately useless effort. Si-hyun seizes the opportunity and kicks him flying. As Min-soo crashes into the crowd, they rain down insults. Seeing this situation, Wook-sung covers his face in sighs, hoping his brother will give up soon so he can devise another plan for a comeback later. Right now, knocked into the crowd, Min-soo only feels sharp pain in his knee. He knows if this continues, he'll definitely lose like last time. To avoid getting hurt worse, the thought of surrendering begins to emerge in his mind. Then a hand pushes Min-soo back out. A group of him. "You idiot. What are you spacing out for? Get back up there and fight. If you give up now, you'll have to answer to us." Si-hyun, hands in his pockets, also asks him, "What's this mama's boy doing? Looking for your mommy." Hearing this, Min-soo chuckles. A plan has already formed in his mind. Si-hyun asks what he's laughing about. Min-soo responds, "Nothing, but I think I found a way to beat the hell out of you." Seeing the two back in the ring, the crowd erupts in cheers again. Si-hyun yawns. Playtime is over. Min-soo stretches a bit, then says, "Yes, I think it's time we settle this." Though he's now figured out how to execute the to lure Si-hyun over is the problem. Wook-sung discussed with him before that, with Min-soo's current strength, he cannot actively force him into a corner. The only way is to enrage Se-hyun and make him attack aggressively, approaching Min-soo who's near the corner. And Wook-sung told Min-soo something that will 100% enrage Se-hyun. Min-soo shouts at Se-hyun with a sleazy look. "Hey, what do you think of Gu Si-min's looks?" The moment he finishes, Se-hyun is indeed enraged. Without hesitation, he throws a punch at Min-soo near the human wall. As expected, this method works. Before the punch lands, Min-soo blocks it with his palm in advance. Then, taking advantage of the moment, he grabs his hair, then yanks hard and twists his body. The situation changes instantly. "Looks like your sister is very special to you." At first, Se-hyun thinks Min-soo hitting him is just an accident, but just as he tries to move his body to dodge Min-soo's next punch, he discovers his body is blocked by the spectators. He cannot effectively dodge or counterattack. He can only let Min-soo's fists continuously strike his head. Any chance he wants to counterattack is hindered by the crowd behind him, with no leverage point to escape from here. That's when Se-hyun realizes he seems to have fallen into a trap. Counterattacking and dodging are impossible because of the spectators behind him. Trying Trying to escape the human wall means taking Minsu's punches. In short, he's now a sitting duck. The best method is to raise both arms to protect his head. Just as Si-hyun spots an opportunity to counterattack, Minsu hits his leg joint with a side kick. At this moment, Minsu continuously chains combo techniques to strike him, releasing all the frustration from these past days. Even as he beats him to the point of swaying, he knows his attacks cannot stop. He cannot give him a moment's breathing room. The relentless barrage keeps hitting every part of Se-hyun's body. As his consciousness begins to blur, Se-hyun knows he cannot take more beating. If the next strike doesn't hit, it's completely over. But right now, his attacks are as slow and powerless as a snail's. He's already lost any possibility of a desperate counterattack. I warned you not to insult my mother. Just thinking about it makes me furious. At this moment, watching the weakling Minsu turn the tables, the crowd erupts completely, and Minsu, as if gone berserk, keeps asking with each punch. If you don't know the situation, don't randomly judge other people's mothers, until his final punch misses. Only then does he realize Se-hyun has long been knocked unconscious. The moment Se-hyun falls, everyone's jaws drop. The three seniors in the room are especially shaken. Se-hyun's fall means Minsu has become the new room boss. Now exhausted, Minsu is still angry. He doesn't understand why. Even until collapsing, Se-hyun wouldn't apologize for insulting his mother. But suddenly, the watching delinquent youths collectively move, clearing a path. The superintendent leads a group of guards toward him. I thought you couldn't win. Didn't expect you actually did. Looks like the animal kingdom is quite interesting. The mouse actually beat the snake. Just as the panting Minsu still doesn't understand what he's saying, the superintendent suddenly leans close to his ear. A mouse is indeed a mouse, even when fighting, so good at playing tricks. Hearing this, Minsu only dares to respond with squeaking sounds. At this moment, Wook-sung picks up Se-hyun and asks the superintendent what to do. The superintendent says, just throw him in solitary or something. Hearing the order, Wook-sung decisively begins to act. Passing by Minsu, he complains, this kid is so disobedient. Who does he take after? Minsu responds with a smile. Maybe he takes after his brother. Though the plan had an accident, fortunately, it's completed without real danger. Now it's time to enter phase 2 of the plan. A day later in an art studio, Gu Seaman asks, so my brother ended up in solitary? Wook-sung says apologetically, I'm sorry things got out of control. This wasn't part of the plan, but Seaman tells him not to move. Because right now, Wook-sung is serving as her human model for painting. Wook-sung asks how much longer. This pose is too hard to maintain. Seaman says she's finished. Maybe this piece will get me into art school as the top student. But when Wook-sung looks at it, his face fills with anger. What the hell does this have to do with art? And she painted me. After some chat, Seaman reminds Wook-sung that his brother might be in trouble because Minsu offended the kitchen crew. She was a member of the girls' section kitchen crew when she was in the facility, so they occasionally interacted with the boys' section kitchen crew. From what she remembers, the boys' section kitchen crew is a very tight-knit group. If you offend one of them, they'll keep coming after you one by one to cause trouble. And there's one person who needs special attention, kitchen crew boss Jang Do-bo. At this moment, Minsu, who's gone up for food, happens to encounter him. He pours side dishes onto Minsu's plate, saying, give him a little more, but soon the liquid from the side dishes fills the entire tray. Minsu says with dissatisfaction, this is a bit too much. But Jang Do-bo responds, that's normal. After all, you offended our kitchen crew. Now, facing kitchen crew leader Jang Do-bo's provocative retaliation, Lee Minsu chooses to play dumb. He points at himself, looking utterly confused, asking if Jang is really sure it's him. Hearing this, an embarrassed Jang Do-bo asks if he's Lee Minsu. Minsu admits that's his name, but suggests it could be someone else with the same name. After all, it's a pretty common name. Realizing he might have made a mistake, Jang Do-bo turns and tells his underlings to verify before reporting back. But his lackey points at Minsu and shouts that it's definitely him. But Minsu has already bolted out of the cafeteria. As he runs, he congratulates himself for being clever enough to dodge a bullet. Meanwhile, a summit meeting of Country H's top leaders is taking place. 3 representatives from different political parties meet with President Han Man-soo. They're meant to set aside partisan conflicts and focus on providing practical advice for the public good. Kang Wook-sung's stepfather is one of these representatives. President Han Man-soo says to Councilman Kang, it's been a long time. We were opponents during the presidential campaign, but now, for the sake of the country, you should work well as my subordinate. With that, he slaps Councilman Kang on the butt. Camera flashes from the reporters in front capture this iconic moment. Councilman Kang freezes. This guy just slapped his butt, and right in front of the entire nation. This instantly enrages Councilman Kang. His fist slams directly into Han Man-soo's face. Unfortunately, this is only after the summit, venting his frustration on a punching bag with Han Man-soo's photo on it. After venting, he angrily says to the person behind him, your father is suffering this humiliation. What do you think about it? That person is Kang Wook-sung. Wook-sung says bringing down President Han Man-soo is easier than he imagined. All we need to do is destroy his political foundation, the Youth Rehabilitation Center, also known as the Reformation Correctional Facility. Councilman Kang says, isn't that that exactly why I sent you there? How far have you gotten? Wook-sung says, based on all the terrible things I've witnessed at the facility during this time, it's clear that place is nothing like the institution the president convinced the public to support. They force kids to use violence on each other. All forms of abuse run rampant. They deliberately ignore fights between kids for their own entertainment. The truth is, that place isn't meant to reform troubled youth at all. It's a living hell built under that pretense. Hearing this, Councilman Kang claps happily. So this correctional facility is Han Man-soo's weakness. Wook-sung confirms, that's right. Just leaking what I've described to the media would be enough to bring down Han Man-soo. But his stepfather says he's being too hasty. This alone isn't nearly enough. These youths are criminals after all. Don't victims want them to suffer a bit? Besides, Han Man-soo could simply promise to improve human rights issues in the future and resolve this exposure. So you need to dig up something much more explosive. Today, the correctional facility has arranged crab punishment for this group of juvenile criminals. Everyone must contort their bodies like crabs, heads toward their butts. This is one of the superintendent's pleasures for the day. Min-soo folds his body, trembling all over, cursing internally. Damn it! When will this end? He's almost at his limit. Suddenly a guard walks up beside him. His nerves immediately tense up as he shouts, "Crab! Crab!" But when he sees who the guard is, he feels a wave of relief because this guard is Wook-sung. After walking up to him, Wook-sung shouts for him to come out for individual training. Hearing this, Min-soo is overjoyed, thinking Wook-sung is giving him special treatment. But what awaits him is a different kind of crab position training, supporting himself on his stomach with all limbs raised upward. Wook-sung apologetically explains that if he goes easy on him, it might cause resentment from others and suspicion from the superintendent. Hearing this, Min-soo accuses him of making things worse. Wook-sung says he brought him out for individual training to explain the second phase of the plan. This youth rehabilitation center uses a reward and punishment point system. Completing specific tasks they set earns you reward points, while violating rules gets points deducted. Accumulate 100 reward points and you qualify for parole review. Conversely, the more points you lose, the further your review date gets pushed back. Your current score is -50, 2 solitary confinements and 1 mass brawl. You've never earned even a single reward point. Min-soo asks how he can earn points. Hearing this, Wook-sung pulls out an application form. Right now, the fastest way for you to earn lots of points is to voluntarily apply to become a kitchen crew helper, but Min-soo knows he's already provoked a kitchen crew leader. Going to become their helper now would be like walking into a lion's den. So he rolls around on the ground saying he'd rather stay here forever than go to the kitchen crew. Those people will kill me. Hearing this, Wook-sung sighs. Alright, I'll find another way besides joining the kitchen crew. An afternoon of intense training leaves Min-soo completely exhausted. But just as he's about to fall asleep, he's disturbed by buzzing sounds around him. He slaps the table hard, demanding whether that person really needs to make such annoying mouth noises. The source of the sound is the 3 senior inmates on cleaning duty. Whitehair has also escaped his Bobby status after Min-soo became the room boss. A senior inmate explains that making sounds helps him work more efficiently, and tells Min-soo to just sit. Cleaning will be done soon. Min-soo rests his chin on his hand, thinking this way of earning points still won't work. After all, cleaning one classroom only earns 1 point. Getting to 100 would take forever and a day. Just then, 2 guards suddenly open the classroom door, asking if he's done cleaning. Min-soo answers that it'll be done soon. Hearing this, the guard tells him to go alone to the next location, because someone has applied for additional volunteer work on his behalf. Hearing this, Min-soo thinks Wook-sung has found another method for him. He happily salutes the guard, but when he arrives at the location, he can't feel happy at all, because he's been assigned to the kitchen crew unit. At this moment, Min-soo feels utterly bitter inside. Didn't they agree not to assign him to the kitchen crew? Jang Do-bo once dreamed of becoming Country H's top chef. His right hand, through training, can not only skillfully wield a 3-kilogram cast iron pan, but also effortlessly toss 2 kilograms of ingredients. His left hand is specifically for delicate operations. Criticizing his cooking is equivalent to insulting Jang Do-bo himself. A group of juvenile delinquents coming to the cafeteria merely complain that the food tastes bad and receive his fierce glare. But Jang Do-bo knows he must hold back. After all, there's nothing he can do, because here, there's no one whose cooking skills match his own. Either they're setting pans on fire and screaming, or holding a pot of charred liquid, claiming they'll turn it into oil. Then there are pots and pots of culinary disasters. Watching these ingredients being wasted can only tearfully tell them to stop. Although he wants nothing more than to tear these people apart right now, they're ultimately his team members. So all Jang Do-bo can do is tolerate them absolutely. But today, Lee Min-soo is different. He offended his team, so if Min-soo's cooking skills are as terrible as everyone else's, he'll have reason to settle both old and new scores under the guise of culinary education. With this thought, he doesn't hesitate to grab an iron pot and charge at Min-soo. However, Min-soo simply cooks 2 casual home-style dishes at the prison, and the kitchen crew leader who wanted to kill him just a second ago is left completely stunned. So Jang Do-bo doesn't choose to strike. Instead, he happily lifts Min-soo up. Crying, he says, "I've finally found you. I knew this day would come." From this point on, Min-soo not only becomes the room boss, but also kitchen crew leader Jang Do-bo's treasure. Meanwhile, the kitchen crew members feasting in the storage room are troubled by this. Someone suggests provoking a fight between Jang Dobo and Lee Min-soo, but given Jang Dobo's current attitude, that's basically impossible. The only solution they can think of now is to add garbage to Min-soo's food, make it taste terrible, and thus change Jang Dobo's attitude toward him. After some discussion, everyone's faces light up as they prepare to act. But at this moment, the sound of the door opening makes their pupils constrict instantly. The newcomer is guard Kang Wook-sung. With interest, he says, "I've always wondered why supplies kept disappearing. So it was you rats causing trouble. Well, you rats stole things, so you'll face the consequences." But the kitchen crew members don't seem to care about his warning. They even curse at him. What's with this guard? Doesn't he know this is kitchen crew territory? But before they finish speaking, in just 2.5 seconds, all of them are on these troublemakers who wanted to cause problems for Min-soo have been dealt with. Although Wook-sung doesn't know who arranged for Min-soo to join the kitchen crew, it seems he's adapting quite well there. Meanwhile, in the superintendent's office, 2 guards come to report. The superintendent asks happily, "So, did they fight?" But hearing they didn't fight, the superintendent's face immediately falls. Because arranging Min-soo to enter the kitchen crew and having the crew members sabotage him were all his schemes. They know the superintendent's volatile temper, so they've prepared an omelet rice with care to appease him. On the other side, Jang Dobo gathers all the kitchen crew members. He asks loudly, "Are you ready to welcome the special day that only comes once a month?" With that, he takes out a bar of soap and grates it into shreds, placing them in a pot. He adds olive oil, more than twice the amount of soap shreds, to the pot and heats it using a double boiler. Next, while sprinkling in some finely ground roller powder, he squeezes in some orange juice to supplement vitamin E. Finally, he stirs vigorously with his powerful arms to finish. A pot of thick, moisturizing, and delicious-looking liquid is complete. Jang Dobo tells him this isn't food. It's their kitchen crew's natural hair wax. To welcome this special monthly day, we always do this. But Min-soo still doesn't understand what special day requires fixing their hair. Jang Dobo says, "Because today is the day new supplies arrive. Today, we get to see the girls from the women's correctional facility. Every month, the cafeteria receives supply shipments, and we have to share these supplies with the women's correctional facility's kitchen crew. This is the only benefit of being in the kitchen crew. On this day, we style our hair to look mature, and we use our strong shoulders to carry cargo and show off." But Min-soo receives completely different treatment. A group of girls surrounds him, not only praising how cute and petite he is, but also proactively asking if he needs help. Seeing this from afar, Jang Dobo is incredibly envious, thinking this guy is slacking off and even flirting with the girls. But just then, a petite girl pokes Jang Dobo on the back. She pulls out a letter and hands it to him, reminding him to take it quickly before her leader sees. Taking the envelope, Jang Dobo's face instantly flushes red. He reaches cloud 9, watching her make a shushing gesture as she leaves. In his mind, he's already walking down the aisle with her. He's even thought of names for 5 children. In his imagination, tears of joy stream down his face. But when he opens the envelope and reads the contents, his face instantly turns deathly pale, because this love letter isn't for him. It's meant to be passed to grade A room boss Lee Min-soo. Meanwhile, Min-soo in the storage room is gasping for breath from exhaustion. He can't understand why those kitchen crew idiots are only busy helping the girls move things and forgot about their own share that needs moving. Just as he stands up to head to another location, Jang Dobo suddenly appears behind him, demanding if he's the grade A room boss. Min-soo confirms with confusion that yes, it's him. Jang Dobo then asks if he knows what day November 22nd is. Min-soo says he doesn't really know. Jang Dobo's face veins bulge as he says, "That's my wedding anniversary 3 years from now, and you wouldn't know who Yeji is, would you?" At this moment, Min-soo is somewhat afraid, asking what happened. But Jang Dobo roars at him, "Yeji is the name of my 5th child. If you hadn't betrayed me, she would have been a girl with a ponytail, born into this beautiful world." With that, Jang Dobo raises his fist and charges at Min-soo. "You bastard who stole my wife! I'll kill you!" Min-soo raises both hands, saying he didn't do anything. But Jang Dobo's fist is already coming at him. With no other choice, Min-soo can only dodge. That punch actually punches straight through an iron cart. If Min-soo hadn't dodged just now, his skull would have been cracked open. Although Min-soo still hasn't figured out the situation. Facing an enemy who wants to kill him, he doesn't hesitate to fight back. But Jang Dobo catches his ankle and slams him hard onto the ground. Jang Dobo wants to follow up with more punches, but the iron cart obstructs his movements. Min-soo seizes this opportunity and charges again with his fists. But before he can get close, he takes a punch. The gap in their strength is too great. Not only are his arms long, but his power is on a different level. Min-soo simply can't get close to him, and taking one of his punches feels like being hit by a rock. At this moment, Jang Dobo breaks free from the cart's restraints. He continuously hammers punches at Min-soo. "I'm going to take So Young on a date. Go hiking on Bukhan Mountain." Soon, Min-soo is backed into a corner, but at the same time, he thinks of a way to deal with him. When Jang Dobo's next punch comes crashing down, he picks up an iron pot from the ground and blocks it. "I have no idea who So Young is, but your date plan is terrible." With that, he wraps both arms around Jang Dobo's waist. Using all his strength, he tries to flip him over and force him into the corner. Then, use the same method that defeated Gu Se-hyun to turn the situation around. Good idea, but he can't budge him an inch. Instead, Jang Do-bo grabs his head with one hand and lifts him into the air. Lee Min-soo, you stole my pure love and my children's future, so accept the punishment of death. At this critical moment, Min-soo grabs a bag of flour. Without hesitation, he smashes it at Jang Do-bo. Meanwhile, the girls' kitchen crew are complaining that this work is too exhausting. They've never even washed dishes at home, and now they have to play the role of cooks here. A girl sorting supplies nearby notices an extra box in their inventory. This must be from the boys' correctional facility. She asks the girls if they should deliver this box over there. Before she finishes speaking, someone among the girls says, if they need it, they'll come get it themselves. Jang Do-bo looks so scary. There's no way she'd dare go. Another chimes in, that's right. I heard he once beat up someone named Chang Soo and got him sent out of the facility. Just when no one wants to deliver it, a black-haired girl voluntarily picks up the box, saying she's willing to go. She even thinks Jang Do-bo is actually kind of cute. Meanwhile, on the other side, a deadly chase scene is unfolding in the storage room. Min-soo uses the terrain in his smaller size to his advantage, constantly running circles around Jang Do-bo. Soon, Jang Do-bo's stamina is exhausted. Gasping for breath, he calls for Min-soo to come and accept his death. He'll make it gentle. But before he finishes speaking, an egg smashes into his face. Min-soo scoops up a tray of eggs and keeps throwing them at him. Covered in a complete mess, Jang Do-bo is furious beyond measure. With just a tight squeeze, he crushes an intact iron kettle into a deformed shape. He also starts using other things around him to fight back. Min-soo dodges while shouting that throwing things like this will kill someone. But Jang Do-bo, who's lost all reason, doesn't care anymore. He directly grabs a pot of hot oil and throws it at him. At this moment, the black-haired delivery girl happily opens the door, only to find a pot of hot oil splashing toward her. Seeing this, Jang Do-bo freezes instantly. But at this moment, Min-soo suddenly rushes forward and embraces her, using his own body to shield the black-haired girl from everything. After this, Kang Wook-sung, having received the news, rushes to the infirmary without delay. After confirming Min-soo's bed with the medical staff, he yanks open the curtain at the head of the bed, but the scene before him shocks him to his core, because Min-soo lying on the bed has become a skeleton. Of course, this is just a prank Min-soo is playing on him. At this moment, Wook-sung's face is dark, appearing angry to the extreme. Seeing Wook-sung like this, Min-soo quickly plays the victim, saying fortunately it wasn't hot oil or he might have really become a skeleton. But Wook-sung pulls him into an embrace. Stroking his head, he says, as long as you're okay. After some chatting, Min-soo's idea of returning to the kitchen crew is rejected. Wook-sung scolds him. After all this happened, you still want to go back to kitchen duty? Min-soo says, isn't this the fastest way to earn points that you mentioned? And I believe you'll teach me how to defeat Jang Do-bo. Once I defeat him, everything will be solved. Wook-sung helplessly scratches his hair and can only agree. After this, Wook-sung uses his guard status to apply to the superintendent for a unique punishment method for juvenile delinquents, thereby achieving the purpose of training Min-soo. Because Jang Do-bo is in a completely different weight class, to defeat him he must start with strength training, starting with pushing stones with both feet while bent over, then pushing triangular iron cones. And finally, if he can move this massive square stone block even slightly, only then will he have hope of defeating Jang Do-bo. At this time, Gu Se-hyun, who's been locked in the solitary confinement room for a week, still can't figure out why he lost to Lee Min-soo. That guy couldn't even land a single punch on him. In the end, he attributes it to his own carelessness. If they fought again, he definitely wouldn't lose. Right now, the more important issue is how to solve the toilet paper problem. The toilet paper is used up, the water's been cut off, and he's already used half of his shirt sleeves. But with no other option, he can only tear off another sleeve to use as toilet paper. He looks at the fabric strip in his hand, thinking, if he uses this now, what will he use next time? Just then, a roll of toilet paper is tossed in. Don't just use random things to wipe. Use toilet paper to clean up properly. Wook-sung tells him to hurry up because he's coming in, but when he opens the door, he finds no one inside. At this moment, Se-hyun suddenly appears behind him, asking how he knows his sister. With that, he throws a punch at Wook-sung. Unfortunately, Wook-sung catches it in one motion. Using professional restraint techniques, he instantly subdues him on the ground. Se-hyun knows he's strong, but didn't expect him to be this ridiculously strong. While he's thinking, Wook-sung has already raised his fist. Se-hyun closes his eyes, preparing to take a beating, but to his surprise, Wook-sung doesn't hit him. Instead, with a smile on his face, he pulls out his phone and dials Gu Se-min's number. Since you're so curious, why don't you just ask your sister? Having his sister's call connected, Se-hyun still can't believe it. He cautiously asks who this is, how they have Se-min's phone, or if Se-min got out of the correctional facility. Se-min doesn't answer directly. Instead, she tells Wook-sung to cover his ears first. She has some things to say to her brother. After Wook-sung covers his ears, Se-min on the other end instantly goes into God mode. She unleashes a torrent of furious scolding, although she's already torn Se-hyun's heart to shreds with her words. The voice on the other end keeps coming. Finally, unable to take it anymore, Se-hyun tremblingly hangs up the phone. Hearing no sound for a while, Wook-sung lowers his hands and asks Se-hyun how he ended up in such a terrible state. Se-hyun looks utterly defeated. Nothing. I'm just tired. Then he asks, you must be working with Se-min, right? right? You're Min-soo's brother. You're the one who taught Min-soo to fight, aren't you? Wook-sung confirms, that's right. Is there a problem? Hearing the affirmative answer, Se-hyun's face fills with expectation. He says he'll listen to him and asks Wook-sung to teach him how to fight too. A month later, the kitchen crew members are frustrated in the storage room. Ever since Jang Do-bo fought with Lee Min-soo, he's been like a zombie. This has led to the kitchen crew constantly being punished for burnt food. If this continues, they'll be kicked out of the kitchen crew before long. But just then, Lee Min-soo suddenly kicks the door open and walks in. Seeing him, the veins on Jang Do-bo's forehead instantly bulge. In just that moment, he snaps out of his depressed state. Lee Min-soo, it's all your fault. I'm going to kill you. But as he approaches, his steps stop. Because Min-soo asks if he wants to know why Jang Do-bo, wanting to understand, asks why. But Min-soo says provocatively, it's because you're ugly as hell. The moment these words fall, Jang Do-bo, who had just calmed down, is instantly ignited. The kitchen crew members watching this terrifying scene are stunned. They all question if Min-soo has gone crazy, daring to provoke Jang Do-bo like this. We're really going to see a corpse today. Facing the enraged Jang Do-bo, Min-soo continues verbally provoking him. Like last time, he runs circles around him, depleting his stamina. Soon, the brainless Jang Do-bo has most of his strength depleted. Knowing this won't work, he directly steps onto the table. He leaps and swings his fist at Min-soo. But once again, Min-soo nimbly dodges and lets his fist punch through an iron post again, thus trapping Jang Do-bo's explosive right fist in the iron post. At the same time, he deliberately lets himself take a punch from his left hand. The purpose is to make Jang Do-bo lower his guard, thinking he's still that pushover he can bully. Then Min-soo seizes the opportunity and grips Jang Do-bo's left arm tightly with both hands. I act with thought, you idiot! You've fallen into my trap. With that, Min-soo suddenly exerts force with his legs. Using just one arm, he pushes Jang Do-bo's left arm joint up to his head. You brainless fool! Prepare to accept your punishment. Meanwhile, the superintendent sits in the cafeteria waiting for his meal. Wook-sung, dressed as a server, carries a tray. Superintendent, as today is a special day, I'm responsible for cooking for you. This is a steamed dish made with Alaskan cod. Seeing this, the superintendent is ecstatic. He never expected to eat such a rare dish here. Next, Wook-sung also prepares a special beverage for him. The superintendent merely tastes it, as if he's drinking a fine wine. Of course, the most exciting part is this special battle before him. At this moment, with his left hand restrained, Jang Do-bo arrogantly says, "You're finally not running away." But when his right hand breaks free from the iron post restraints and prepares to attack, he discovers that not only is his left arm restrained, but his right hand also can't be used. The main reason is that his physique and build are simply too massive. Min-soo doesn't waste words. He hammers punches into his face one after another. Taking the beating, Jang Do-bo asks in confusion where he learned these grappling techniques. But do you think you can defeat me with just this? Jang Do-bo tries to use brute force to knock Min-soo away, but Min-soo's special stance prevents him from pushing him an inch. Instead, he continues getting punched in the face. A month ago, Wook-sung had already helped him analyze the strategy and techniques for defeating Jang Do-bo. In the previous fight, Min-soo and Se-hyun's weight classes only differed by one level. That's why Min-soo could win by forcing him into a corner, but his current opponent, Jang Do-bo, is a full 3 weight classes above him. Using the same method to defeat him is clearly impossible. Instead, he'd have to pray not to be cornered himself. And gaining weight in a short time is also unrealistic. For example, if these massive stones represent Jang Do-bo, how do you move or topple him? The answer lies in the lever principle. In fact, human limb movement is also based on the lever principle. If Min-soo can become the lever that moves this stone, then he can also push Jang Do-bo. At this moment, rage burns in Jang Do-bo's heart. No matter how much force he exerts, this bastard in front of him doesn't budge an inch, making him take a one-sided beating the whole time. Watching from the window, Wook-sung asks the superintendent if this show is exciting. The superintendent says it's somewhat interesting, but the direction of this play is too predictable. Looking at Jang Do-bo's expression, he doesn't look hurt at all. Those skinny little hands can't possibly beat such a big guy, and Min-soo already looks tired. In the end, the weight class difference can't be ignored. Wook-sung says, "How about we make a bet? I bet the kid named Lee Min-soo will win." Hearing this, the superintendent's interest is immediately piqued. A bet sounds good. You really do like making these uncertain wagers, but Wook-sung understands that saying facial attacks are useless just because of weight difference is simply absurd. Speaking from the basic boxing stance perspective, it's designed specifically to protect the face and head, because the most vulnerable parts of the human body are the face and head, where many vital points are concentrated, and the most critical among them is the jaw. Attacking the jaw shakes the brain and inner ear, causing the opponent to temporarily lose balance. In amateur fighting, weight class is important, but ultimately, professional technique is the key to victory. At this moment, the dazed Jang Do-bo seems to see So Young waving goodbye to him. As Min-soo delivers his final strike to the face, his dream wife So Young and 5 children all vanish. The kitchen crew members watching Jang Do-bo fall are completely incredulous. The superintendent also shouts in amazement, "How did you know that little brat would win?" Wook-sung calmly says, "Just intuition." Hearing this, the superintendent leaves somewhat displeased. "Your intuition is quite interesting, but you'd better start thinking now about about what you want as your prize for the bet. At this moment, Min-soo, having defeated his opponent, gasps heavily, thinking it's finally over. But then he notices the love letter that fell from Jang Do-bo's pocket on the ground. Opening it, he discovers it's for the grade A room boss, meaning this love letter isn't for Lee Min-soo but for Gu Se-hyun. According to the kitchen crew members, Jang Do-bo thought the love letter was for him, Lee Min-soo, which is why he wanted to kill him so badly. Learning this, Min-soo can't even complain. So all the suffering he endured during this time to defeat him, it was all because Jang Do-bo got the wrong recipient? Thinking of this, Min-soo wants to throw a few more punches, but the kitchen crew members hold him back tightly, telling him to calm down. Meanwhile, in a special restricted area, several special inmates are playing poker. They complain that the selection of the next candidate has run into trouble again. First Gu Se-hyun, then Jang Do-bo. Is this guy called Lee Min-soo really that strong? Jang Do-bo is the Gangyo district. Now that two candidates are gone, we can only use the backup plan. One is the famous black clothes gang leader from Daeyeon-dong district, construction supervisor Lee Kang-min. The other is maintenance team member Ha Sung-chul. But as soon as this list comes out, someone questions it. I can understand Lee Kang-min being on the list, but why is Ha Sung-chul a candidate? He's not even a leader at this point. Seeing that the yellow-haired Jisoo hasn't said anything, someone asks why he doesn't choose one. Jisoo says he wasn't planning to get involved this time, but hearing them talk, he's actually interested now. Then, I nominate Lee Min-soo as a candidate, and this yellow-haired guy is none other than Lim Jisoo, currently the #1 person at Gangyo Reformation Center. After defeating Jang Do-bo, Min-soo temporarily becomes the acting kitchen crew leader. During this process, he finally understands Jang Do-bo's suffering. These guys are basically kitchen destroyers. Either they make the rice explode, create absurd food combinations, or worse, put an electric kettle on the stove and blast it with high heat. All Min-soo can do is desperately shout at them to stop. Soon, it's supply delivery day at the prison again. The black-haired girl Se-ra, whom Min-soo saved before, approaches him. She says shyly, "Thank you for saving me last time." Min-soo scratches his head embarrassedly, saying the oil wasn't even hot. It's no big deal. But at this moment, Se-ra, her face flushed red, hands him a love letter. Having been burned before, Min-soo asks if this might be for Gu Se-hyun. Hearing this, Se-ra runs away embarrassed but turns back to scold him. "It's for you, idiot." After Min-soo checks and confirms the recipient is indeed him, having never had a girlfriend in his life, his face instantly flushes red. In his mind, he seems to already see images of a happy family of 4. At this moment, Min-soo's face is as red as a ripe apple. Actually, this black-haired girl didn't become interested in Min-soo just because he shielded her from the oil. She'd noticed Min-soo much earlier. That day, she was taking a walk after eating. It was the day Min-soo fought Gu Se-hyun. Min-soo's courage and sense of responsibility in standing up for the weak, and his crazy eyes like a honey badger, deeply attracted her. From that day on, she'd been worried about Min-soo's situation. And today, with her friends' help getting dressed up and their encouragement, she finally mustered the courage to confess to him. So she hopes that the next time they meet, Min-soo will give her an answer. After returning to his room, Min-soo stares at the love letter with a silly grin for quite a while. Learning the news, the senior inmates are indignant, cursing him as a traitor. "We've been here longer than you and still don't have girlfriends. Are you this happy just because you got a letter?" Min-soo says receiving a love letter does make him happy. Before this, he'd only received letters from his mom, or that love letter meant for Si-hyun. He even invites the senior inmates to look at it together. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kang Wook-sung arrives at the warden's office. Sergeant Kang reporting, "I heard you were looking for me, warden. The warden says he's been transferred here for about 3 months. I heard you passed the early admission to Country H Army Officer Academy at an extremely fast pace. And you passed the sergeant exam with top scores in your class. For someone as talented as you to come to our correctional facility, I admire my own luck." Wook-sung shows his loyalty, saying he will work even harder for the warden in the country. He understands that only by gaining the warden's trust can he find a way to increase Min-soo's points. But at this moment, the warden asks, "Do you know I've seen some interesting things in surveillance footage recently? You and Lee Min-soo seem to be getting a bit too close. What exactly is your relationship? If Wook-sung wants to get Min-soo out of the correctional facility, he must hide the fact that they're brothers. Moreover, he was adopted. No one knows they're brothers." Hearing the warden's questioning, he can't help but suspect if he's noticed something. But no matter what, he can't let him find out. He must come up with an excuse. But at this moment, the warden says, "You two have a student-teacher relationship, don't you? I saw you teaching Lee Min-soo how to fight. No wonder you made that bet with me. You knew your student would win. Seems like you're not just academically gifted, but also skilled at fighting." Hearing this, Wook-sung breathes a sigh of relief and explains that Min-soo wanted to get stronger and begged him repeatedly, so he agreed to teach him. The warden warns him not to get too close to the trash. Wook-sung says he understands, then leaves under the pretext of preparing for outdoor activities. After he leaves, the warden makes a phone call. He feels things aren't that simple, so he plans to investigate Wook-sung's background. In the solitary confinement room, Se-hyun finally breathes a sigh of relief. From the angry shouting on the phone that day, he figures figures his sister must have gotten out of the correctional facility. Meanwhile, Dobo, also in solitary confinement, curls up his body, trembling and crying. He's still bitter about the love letter incident, thinking it's all so unfair and blaming Min-soo for everything. At this moment, Wook-sung opens his cell door and explains that what happened to him wasn't Min-soo's fault. Dubo cries, saying, "What do you know? Min-soo stole my wife and kids. My life is completely ruined." But the greater room leader mentioned in that letter wasn't Min-soo, it was Sehyun. Hearing this, Dobo immediately changes his attitude, shouting, "Min-soo, I'm sorry. I blamed you wrongly. Sehyun, you bastard. You're dead." Wook-sung tells him to calm down and pulls out a photo on his phone, saying it's too early to jump to conclusions. After seeing the photo, Dobo says with resentment, "Isn't this the kitchen goddess Gu Se-min? But why is she standing and posing with that bastard Sehyun?" He makes up his mind again. He must kill that bastard Sehyun for trying to steal even his goddess. But when Wook-sung tells him they're siblings, his eyes go blank instantly. "So that means Sehyun is my brother-in-law?" As soon as he finishes speaking, Sehyun, who heard the commotion from the opposite room, roars at him, "Shut up, you pig! Who's your brother-in-law?" The two then argue fiercely from their opposite rooms, one side telling Sehyun to think about his nephew and niece, the other side blasting back intensely. Seeing this, Wook-sung finally relaxes. The situation is mostly handled. Now Min-soo just needs to keep collecting points. Besides that, there's something else he needs to investigate. That is, to uncover the dark secrets the warden is hiding in this correctional facility. And this special detention block is currently his lead. Even as a guard, he can't enter this restricted area. Wook-sung suspects something must be hidden here. Sure enough, before he can think much longer, several guards carry out a young inmate, and he also notices a man inside wearing a red prison uniform. Meanwhile, Min-soo is washing up in the bathroom. He looks at the bar of soap in his hand, puzzled. This thing is even smaller than before. How was he supposed to wash with this? But at this moment, someone behind him hands him a bottle of shampoo. Min-soo takes it, confused. How can there be something like this in prison? So he asks Lim Jisoo, who's washing up nearby, how he has something like shampoo. Moreover, not only is his prison uniform red, but there's no grade marking on his chest either. Jisoo introduces himself while immediately saying Min-soo's name. Min-soo asks, a bit puzzled, "How do you know me?" But at this moment, Jisoo suddenly leans forward. Min-soo thinks he's about to attack. The next second, Jisoo just pats Min-soo's head, smaller than I imagined. "How did you win 2 fights?" Min-soo says, "For the sake of you lending me shampoo, I'll let this slide." But next, the blonde Jisoo says something baffling. "This time I came to find you, but next time it'll be you coming to find me. Though it won't be easy, I'll be waiting." After saying this, Jisoo casually leaves, leaving Min-soo with a completely confused expression. Meanwhile, the two in the solitary confinement room stop arguing. There's no way you could lose to Min-soo. "Why did you let him win?" Dubo asks back why he lost to Min-soo then. Sehyun explains he was careless, and that kid came completely prepared with a strategy. Dubo says the same happened to him. He planned to toy with Min-soo a bit, but then realized he'd fallen completely into his trap. Sehyun says after these 2 fights, they must have noticed Min-soo, right? Dubo confirms they've taken notice. They even had the kitchen crew try to turn him against Min-soo. They might be planning to nominate Min-soo as a candidate, but Sehyun's response shocks him. "Don't make me laugh. I'll prove I'm the candidate, reach the top, and pay them back 100-fold for humiliating me." 15 days later, Min-soo has become close with the kitchen crew members. But just as he's about to eat his noodles, the kitchen crew members in front of him stare behind him with shocked expressions. Min-soo wonders why they aren't eating. Little does he know Dubo has appeared behind him. Dubo raises both hands high, as if about to launch a sneak attack, but the next second, Dubo kneels down before him. "I'm sorry, Min-soo. I mistook you for someone else and tormented you. Plus, Si-hyun became my brother-in-law, so I can't get revenge for you anymore." Hearing this, Min-soo extends his hand. "I accept your apology. Let's eat ramen together." Dubo is instantly moved to tears by his gesture. The kitchen crew members nearby all shout, "It's in the past now!" And Min-soo has already received another confession letter from another girl. At these words, Dubo's expression instantly turns fierce. "Min-soo, you bastard! You're after my number 2 wife now!" Then, the food storage room becomes a scene of desperate chase again, though this time it's just playful roughhousing. Min-soo smiles broadly, thinking tomorrow is the day he'll reply to Sera's love letter. But when the next day comes, he can't be happy because he's been assigned to do volunteer work. Min-soo rolls on the ground, saying he doesn't want to do volunteer work. He wants to see Sera and give her the letter. The senior inmates comfort him, saying this is the only way to earn lots of points. At this moment, another group of young inmates arrives for volunteer work. They mock, "Wanna be my underlings? I can get you jobs at a fried chicken place or something." All the room members respond collectively, "What nonsense are you talking?" One of them, a fat guy, sees Min-soo daring to disrespect his boss. He immediately steps forward, grabbing Min-soo's collar. "You sure you're the one who beat Si-hyun and Dobo? That scrawny body of yours looks pathetic to me." Just as conflict is about to break out, a guard arrives in time to stop them. Seeing the guard arrive, both groups neatly line up in 2 rows, standing at attention. The shifty-eyed leader of the other group reports to the guard first, worst, saying they were quiet, and it was Minsu's group who started trouble. The bald senior inmate Wang Hyuk is about to refute. The next second, the guard's fist smashes into his face. "You bastard! I've been annoyed with you. With that face, you're obviously the troublemaker." Witnessing this, Minsu is confused. He doesn't understand why this guard would suddenly hit someone from his side, but seeing the smiles on the other group of young inmates, he realizes this guard is on their side. Hyuk, being beaten, keeps begging for mercy. At this moment, Wook-sung arrives in time to stop the guard. "Let's stop now. We need to leave soon." Seeing it's his colleague, the guard explains with a smile, "The kids almost fought, so I got carried away for a moment." After saying this, he leads the other group of young inmates onto the bus. Wook-sung asks Hyuk if he's okay and can still go do volunteer work. Hyuk says he's fine. Then Wook-sung looks at Minsu's back and questions, "You weren't thinking of attacking the guard just now, were you?" Minsu turns back with a smile, saying, "How could you think that, Hyuk?" After getting on the bus, Minsu asks the white-haired Moon Hyun-jun if he smells something strange. He looks back and sees someone from the back row has stuck their stinky feet forward. Minsu warns them to pull their feet back immediately, but their leader says, "If you have a problem, fight my guys." Even Si-hyun wouldn't be a match for them, but just as he finishes speaking, Si-hyun happens to board the bus. The man just stands there silently and glances over. This makes the prison boss, who was talking big just a second ago, go pale with fear instantly. His underlings are so scared they quickly put their stinky feet down. Minsu didn't expect today would be the day Si-hyun gets out of solitary confinement. He curses inwardly. Damn, this volunteer work is going to get too lively. After all, none of the volunteers on this bus are easy to deal with. Soon the bus arrives at the nursing home. The director and all the staff welcome them at the entrance. Wook-sung politely steps forward to shake hands with the director. "We hope this volunteer activity will bring positive change to the kids from the correctional facility." Another guard also says he'll take photos to document the kids helping the elderly. The aunties treat these young inmates who came from far away with drinks. They take just one sip and exclaim repeatedly, "Haven't had cola in so long. This is the taste of childhood." And the volunteer work they're here to do today is to take care of the elderly at the nursing home. There isn't a single young person here, making them complain constantly. But at this moment, a senior inmate suddenly points ahead and shouts, "Isn't there a young woman over there?" Seaman looks in the direction he's pointing, but discovers this woman is his sister, Saemin. This shocks Si-hyun so much he crushes the cola cup he was about to drink from. Why is his sister here? The first task these teenagers are assigned is to wash the elderly's feet. A guard nearby uses a camera to specifically record this moment. Minsu, having just finished washing an elderly person's feet, holds his forehead and breathes a sigh of relief. But immediately he hears the next person calling for him to help wash their feet. Thinking it's an old man, Minsu naturally doesn't refuse, even saying this grandpa must have suffered a lot. His feet have many blistered areas. Just as Minsu looks up to ask if he feels more refreshed, he discovers the person before him isn't some old man, but Lee Cho, the boss of Grade B Room. He presses his wet foot against Minsu's face, telling him to wipe it clean. He even mocks Minsu, asking if he wants to be a foot wiper under him. Facing this humiliation, Minsu instantly flies into rage, but is held tightly by the white-haired Hyun-jun. He reminds him to calm down. The guard over there is taking photos. Cho continues mocking with his underlings. That idiot is definitely a hothead. Looks like Si-hyun and Dobo aren't that impressive after all. Minsu grits his teeth and can only endure this humiliation because he knows the guard is on Cho's side. Acting now would only get him mocked worse. At this time, Seaman is pushing an elderly woman outside for a walk. "Grandma, the flowers over there are beautiful. Let's rest here for a bit." And the reason for stopping here is probably that Se-hyun has also come looking for her, pushing an elderly person. He asks Se-hyun, "Everyone else is busy volunteering. Are you slacking off?" But Se-hyun says he really does want to deal with these elderly people. After all, she was sent to the correctional facility for beating up that perverted old man. Seaman says somewhat calmly, "Yeah, I think we both made mistakes. We should have directly reported him for sexual harassment. Instead, we ended up in a correctional facility for getting involved, and it's that old man who had the problem. Not all elderly people are like that." After saying this, she leans back on the bench. "One day we'll all grow old. What do you think we'll become?" Si-hyun asks what she's trying to say. At this moment, Se-min pushes the elderly woman away. "If you grow old, what kind of person will you become?" Think about that question carefully. Soon, it's lunchtime. Each young inmate receives a meal to help the elderly eat. Minsu is feeding an elderly woman, but he hears crying sounds nearby. Looking over, he sees Cho not only eating greedily himself, but also using food to tease the elderly woman. Minsu angrily shouts, asking what he's doing, but just as he finishes speaking, a bowl of soup pours onto his head. Several of Cho's underlings say arrogantly, "Sorry, we didn't spill it on purpose." Though Minsu wants to step forward and beat them up, he's held back tightly by Hyunjun and Hyuk. Seeing the situation going wrong, the guard immediately says, "Minsu, you trying to cause trouble again?" Minsu explains, "They dumped the tray on my head, but ultimately, the guard is on Cho's side and naturally won't judge right from wrong. They all explained it was an accident." Hearing this, Minsu can only bury his unwilling anger in his heart. Meanwhile, Cho's underlings are all smiling gleefully. "We were scared of the grade A people before, but it seems they're not as impressive as we imagined," Cho says with a smile. "I don't care what grade they're from. In my view, only money is the true way to power." In the correctional facility, grades aren't based on fighting ability, but on crime severity. Though that said, the more serious the crime, usually the better they fight. We entered grade C room for fraud, so obviously we're not fighters. But we don't need to fight like the news is reporting right now. Yuheng Group Chairman Moon Hojik was granted bail due to deteriorating health. With money, bodyguards, police, even the law itself will protect you. If we don't have force, we'll buy it with money. What we fraud criminals have most is money, isn't it? In Cho's view, with money, even grade A people will bow to its power and ultimately be controlled by him. The underlings all cheer, everyone agreeing with his words. Perhaps it's this encouragement that makes them increasingly reckless. They were originally assigned to help the elderly wash up, but they're smoking in the bathroom instead, completely ignoring the elderly person being scalded by hot water. At this moment, Hyuk, having finished cleaning the toilet, is preparing to go clean the bathhouse. When he opens the door, he happens to see this scene. Hyuk's expression is full of shock. He immediately drops his mop and stands in front of the old man. Cho's underlings curse at him. "You scared us. Thought you were security." Hyuk says they've gone too far. What if Grandpa has a heart attack? But just as he finishes speaking, a fist smashes into his face. Hearing this, the fat guy strikes first. "Who do you think you are to tell me what to do?" The other two underlings laugh and cheer from the side. Getting beaten, Hyuk doesn't waste words and immediately fights back. "Come on, you bastards!" When Minsu and Hyunjun find Hyuk, he's already lying on the ground, beaten unconscious. So Minsu goes to find Wook-sung. He hopes Wook-sung can help him create an opportunity for revenge. But Wook-sung says, "We're already outside. Why still fight? If you cause trouble here, it'll be big problems." Seeing Wook-sung won't help, Minsu turns to leave. But at this moment, a voice stops them both. Guard Jeonji suddenly appears, saying, "If I heard correctly, Minsu, did you just call Sergeant Kang Hyun?" Hearing this, both of their expressions freeze instantly. Just as they're about to explain, Ji continues, "I found it strange for a while. The way Sergeant Kang treats Minsu is like family. What's your relationship with Minsu?" Just as Wook-sung can't explain and his identity is about to be exposed, Se-hyun suddenly appears shouting at Wook-sung, "Hey, I've been looking everywhere for you. Those guys are causing trouble again." Ji doesn't understand how that guy dares speak to a guard so casually. Wook-sung explains, "Maybe I've been too lenient with these kids. So they keep calling me that," Ji warns him. "This place is turning into a gang academy. Guard Kang, I'll let it slide this time. But if I see you getting too close to this trash again, I'll report you to the superiors." After he leaves, Wook-sung's anxious heart finally settles. But at this rate, his exposure is only a matter of time. Minsu bumps Se-hyun's chest with his fist, expressing thanks. But Se-hyun hits back saying, "Don't misunderstand. I'm not helping you, mama's boy." Getting more heated, the two almost start fighting again. At this moment, Wook-sung grabs both of their necks like grabbing chickens. "Stop fooling around," Minsu says pitifully, still questioning. "Hyun, are you really not going to help? Those bastards went too far." Hearing this, Wook-sung points at him and scolds, "You almost got caught just now and you're still saying this? Do you really want to rot here for life?" Then he assigns Se-hyun to keep an eye on Minsu from now on. Though Se-hyun wants to refuse, hearing that refusing means double training afterward, he can only agree. Afterward, under the staff's instruction, they're assigned to try changing diapers for paralyzed elderly people. After changing several elderly people, as Minsu prepares for the next one, he discovers the bag that was just full of diapers is now empty. Looking back, he sees Cho and his underlings have used all the diapers to armor themselves. Time to deploy the diaper squad. Let's wage war on that loser from grade A. Seeing this, Minsu is about to fight, but Se-hyun blocks him. "Don't fight. Wook-sung told you to stay quiet." Minsu sighs. "I can't ignore this kind of provocation." At this moment, Cho is still shouting childishly, "We're not playing around. We even caught a monster to protect the world." And the monster he's talking about is Hyuk, who's bound to a chair with tape, his entire head humiliatingly covered with a diaper, only his nose exposed. Seeing this scene, Minsu's rage reaches its peak. "How dare you do this to someone who just got hurt?" Se-hyun strikes Minsu's head, telling him to calm down, but Minsu roars at him, "Don't stop me or we'll fight first." Se-hyun points in that direction. Fighting sounds good, but look who's over there. Cho is reporting to the guard, saying Minsu and his group keep causing trouble. And sure enough, after hearing this, Guard G warns Minsu's group, "If you cause more trouble, you can expect disciplinary training when you get back." Not wanting to implicate Wook-sung, Minsu can only choose to comply. In the afternoon, Cho's underlings come outside to smoke. The fat guy asks their leader, Tai-ho, "How long do we have to be underlings?" Every time Cho talks big, I want to tear his mouth apart. We're only going along for the money, yet he really thinks he's the boss. Taeho says it won't be long now. Right now, they're sticking with the grade C people just to live comfortably for a while. When the opportunity comes, they'll climb up. And his goal is that place where only the truly strong gather, the area with the red prison uniforms and many privileges. Rumor has it they're selecting the next candidate, and right now here, there happens to be one of the hot candidates, Si-hyun. The underling asks in confusion, didn't Se-hyun lose to Min-soo? Taeho says, that might just be a rumor. Just looking at Min-soo, he's obviously a complete weakling. His goal is to beat Se-hyun badly and prove himself to them. Min-soo has thought it through now. This is the time to endure. Even to solve his room's problems, he can't drag Wook-sung into it. Just as he's thinking about how to avoid this problem, he's deliberately tripped by two people walking toward him. Two underlings point at him on the ground, laughing. In that moment, Min-soo's anger breaks through his rational mind. You bastards, I'm going to kill you today. But every time at moments like this, something appears to stop him. Happening to be nearby, Seaman hands him a handkerchief. Good thing you seem okay. You're as tough as Wook-sung, not crying over something like this. Min-soo asks curiously, you know my Hyung? Seaman carefully wipes his face, saying, that's a Min-soo catches sight of her name tag, Gu Si-min. As she's leaving, Seaman says to him, please take care of my brother for me. After she completely leaves, Min-soo ponders the names, Gu Se-hyun and Gu Si-min. Combining everything from before, this woman must be Se-hyun's sister. Thinking of this, an idea for dealing with the grade C group pops into his head. So he rushes to the classroom and gives Se-hyun a chop, and says this is payback for the earlier blow to his head. Want to settle this one-on-one? Se-hyun lowers his head saying, don't even think about it, though right now he really does want to beat up all those grade C troublemakers. Meanwhile, Seaman is waiting for Wook-sung on a rooftop somewhere. Suddenly a drink is placed on her head. Sorry for the wait. Wook-sung asks what she needs. Seaman says thanks to him she got to see Se-hyun, so as family she should thank him. Wook-sung says she's been helping him all this time too. I only did it because I could benefit from it. Hearing this, Seaman says he really has a talent for making people want to punch him. After some playful banter, they smile at each other. Then Wook-sung asks if she's heard of the red prison uniforms. But from Seaman's expression, she clearly doesn't know. The other guards either avoid it or refuse to talk about it. Is there no way to get some useful information? Speaking of which, Wook-sung says he needs to get back. Otherwise, who knows what trouble Min-soo will cause again. Seaman tells him not to worry. She specifically asks Se-hyun to watch Min-soo. Before, when others provoked him, Min-soo held back. Pretty impressive. Wook-sung says Min-soo takes after him, so he's definitely impressive. Even when he doesn't listen, he knows what to do and can do it well. Hearing this, Seaman also says she asked Se-hyun to watch Min-soo because Se-hyun is reliable. After all, my brother is both dependable and manly. But as they each boast about their brothers, little do they know Se-hyun and Min-soo are currently fighting intensely. Hearing the news, Cho's underlings all come to watch. Min-soo says in confusion, they bullied our room's people and played terrible pranks on the elderly here. Isn't Se-hyun angry about any of this? Se-hyun says, what does that have to do with him? Stop talking and let's fight. But at this moment, Min-soo continues. Looks like their next target is probably the volunteer Seaman. Isn't she your sister? Just thinking about how terrible their pranks might be worries me. This is the method Min-soo came up with after meeting Seaman. Seeing the two still not fighting, Cho's underlings egg them on from the side, asking if they can only talk. One underling even gets in his face to mock, you're not scared of Min-soo, are you? Just as he finishes speaking, his head receives a fierce blow. I think what he said isn't without reason, Cho's underlings angrily shout, asking why Se-hyun suddenly attacked their guy. Though my sister is beautiful, I'm not worried at all. But now the more I think about it, the angrier I get. I'll make you pay for messing with our room's people. Meanwhile, Gari is humbly lighting a cigarette for Cho in the storage room. Letting Cho participate in this outdoor activity, Gari even forged documents to barely get him this opportunity. Cho says calmly he's satisfied and promises to prepare more benefits for him this time. Getting the money, Gari says humbly. You always give me pocket money. I should be the one thanking you. Feeling satisfied, Cho continues, saying if he takes over an area and recruits some construction crews, he'll give Gari more benefits. And he tells Gari to find a way to contact the people in the special detention block. I'll go see them personally soon. But hearing this, Gari's face fills with terror, saying that's something the warden handles personally. If we get involved and something goes wrong, we're dead for sure. At this moment, an underling suddenly bursts through the door shouting, that guy Si-hyun is beating up our people. Hearing this, Ji says angrily, didn't I already warn them not to fight? But Cho beside him tells Ji not to intervene yet. I just want to teach those bastards a lesson. Right, Park Tae-ho. Led by the underling, they head to the battlefield. And this scene is all seen by Seaman, hiding around the corner. On the other side, Min-soo is happily cheering. Since Wook-sung had Se-hyun watch him, he'll do the opposite. Using Se-hyun's trigger point to eliminate enemies for himself, this is what's called fighting fire with fire. The three, beaten to a swollen mess, realize they need to team up now. Just thinking about his sister being pranked fills Se-hyun with rage, but this time time, the three coordinate. The two average-built ones use their bodies to restrain Se-hyun, while the most lethal fat guy launches a frontal attack. Min-soo, watching from the side, finally chooses to intervene. I wasn't planning to fight at all, but since you ask so sincerely, Se-hyun says he didn't say anything. But soon, without realizing it, Se-hyun is pushed to the wall. The fat guy's attack instantly arrives before him, but this time, the wall trick won't work. He's not the Se-hyun from before. Seeing this scene, Min-soo can't help thinking, this bastard got stronger after training with Wook-sung, but so did he. He's no longer the weakling who could be bullied at will. Se-hyun tells him not to block his way. Min-soo tells him just not to drag him down. He even wonders aloud, this is too easy. You almost lost to these guys? Se-hyun says, I didn't almost lose, you mama's boy. Min-soo retorts, you sister-obsessed freak, how dare you talk about me? Se-hyun angrily asks if he wants to fight. At this moment, having knocked everyone down, they start grappling. The two clearly intend to continue their rematch, but at this moment, Park Tae-ho suddenly arrives. With one kick, he sends Min-soo flying. Tae-ho questions Se-hyun, you used to be a candidate, right? Come fight me one-on-one. Min-soo asks what he is to dare interfere, but Tae-ho, having taken that kick, acts like nothing happened and strikes back, saying, let's see if you can take it too. Coming to his senses, Min-soo trembles as he's about to get up. Cho comes before him. Great a boss, Min-soo. I'll give you a final offer. Let me control your entire area. Once I get the red prison uniform, I definitely won't mistreat you. Hearing this, Min-soo thinks the red prison uniform must be that guy who lent him shampoo. But what does that actually mean? Min-soo tells him to get lost, daring to bully the elderly here in our room's people. I won't let this slide. Just as he finishes speaking, a black bag covers his head. Caught off guard, Min-soo only feels darkness before his eyes. Then Cho kicks him in the head and says, listen while I'm still talking nicely. My purpose for wanting to control Grade A is to find a strong subordinate, someone as strong as Se-hyun. Of course, in my view, Tae-ho is way more impressive than Se-hyun. Though Tae-ho's prison grade is only D, his pure strength is at Grade A level. Fighting against him, Se-hyun clearly feels this. Though his opponent's attack power is about the same as his endurance is far above his own. Tae-ho uses his endurance to deliberately take hits, then counterattacks. If this continues, Se-hyun will definitely lose. He recalls Wook-sung telling him his fighting technique and reach were better than Min-soo's. So why did he lose? Because that was his only advantage. If reach is your strength, seal it away. If your opponent has reach, power, and endurance, how will you fight? So I'll teach you a fighting style that belongs to you alone, a path to getting stronger that will completely transform you. Seeing Se-hyun stand up, Tae-ho mocks, just stay down. You and I aren't even on the same level, Se-hyun says angrily. I'll make you understand what a difference in levels really means. After saying this, he charges forward with a swift step. Tae-ho shouts, that's right, show me your full power. Only then will defeating you have meaning. But is blocking all you're going to show me? That would be a bit too boring. Se-hyun also understands he can't just keep blocking. Because when Wook-sung trained him, he said, blocking constantly will only slow your movements. If your arms drop, your opponent will seize the chance to break through your defense. What you need to do is observe your opponent's movements while blocking. Don't just think about how to... At this moment, Se-hyun can start catching his opponent's movements. Tae-ho's shoulders are raised high, which means there will be a powerful attack, and the longer he observes, the clearer everything becomes. Tae-ho's punching pattern and punching speed, as well as his timing for pulling back, he's grasped it all. The moment to counterattack has arrived. Taking a punch, Tae-ho mocks, is this all you've got? Next, the situation completely changes. Each of his attacks is easily dodged by Se-hyun, and each of Se-hyun's counterattacks lands solidly on him. Se-hyun knows that if Tae-ho keeps swinging like this, he'll soon be exhausted, just like when he fought Min-soo before. How foolish. Now he finally understands why he lost to Min-soo, and realizes just how terrifying Wook-sung is. Just through observation, he made him this strong. Soon, Se-hyun finishes off Tae-ho, but there's no excitement on his face. Facing this level of opponent was already so difficult. To catch up to Lim Jisoo, he still has a long way to go. Se-hyun wonders where Min-soo went. He discovers Cho is continuously punching Min-soo with a black bag on his head. Cho questions Min-soo. It's come to this and you still won't give up? It hurts, doesn't it, you bastard? But in Min-soo's view, Cho is too weak. He doesn't understand how a person's punches can be so powerless. Min-soo has experienced this situation before, but suddenly, like being hit by an inflatable cheering stick, it clicked. He's not sure if it's because of the training or because of those two previous fights. Getting cocky, Cho continues mocking. If it hurts, cry. Call for your mommy. Oh wait, you don't even have a mother. Just as he finishes, having hit Min-soo's sore spot, Min-soo decides to stop toying with him. You crossed the line, you bastard. With a groin kick, Min-soo makes him experience what real pain is. But at this moment, a voice asks what he's doing. Ji points at Min-soo saying, didn't I warn you not to fight? Min-soo explains it wasn't him who started it. Si-hyun was being beaten, and he just helped him. But Wook-sung gives him a kick to the head, saying, "That's still fighting." Then Wook-sung tells Si-hyun to explain what trick Min-soo pulled this time. Si-hyun says seriously, "We didn't start it. Those bastards wanted to mess with my sister and harass the grandpas and grandmas here." Hearing this, Wook-sung's expression changes instantly. Ji shouts, "Guard Kang, see that? I told you not to get close to these people. That's why they're so arrogant now. You just wait and prepare to write that disciplinary report." But at this moment, Saemin suddenly arrives. "Guard John, I think what you should be preparing for is a trial, not a disciplinary report." Ji asks in confusion who she is. Hearing this, Saemin smiles and takes out her phone with a video. The content shows his dealings with Cho in the storage room. Ji's face instantly breaks out in cold sweat. Saemin says calmly, "You accepted bribes and forged official documents." Just as she finishes, Ji lunges at her trying to grab the phone, but Wook-sung won't give him that chance. With just one move, he completely subdues him. Wook-sung and Saemin share a knowing smile. Good thing she broke the deadlock in time. Then Wook-sung immediately dials the command phone to report. The moment the call connects, Ji immediately explains it's not just him doing this. The guards managing the red prison uniform inmates take even more bribes. Hearing red prison uniform, Wook-sung is instantly shocked. Facing the inquiry on the phone, he covers for Ji, saying he was just reporting the return schedule. Seeing he wasn't reported, Ji hurriedly thanks him. "Sergeant Kang, I won't forget this favor," Wook-sung says. "This time, I'll turn a blind eye. But on the condition that you tell me in detail about the red prison uniform inmates." Kang Wook-sung is puzzled. Isn't the purpose of the Reformation Correctional Facility supposed to be reforming juvenile offenders? Ji-won-ji tells him, "There are always some people beyond redemption. If they just release them back into society, it'll cause political problems. So simply put, these red prison uniform inmates exist to prevent others from leaving easily." Kang Wook-sung doesn't understand. Wouldn't that make the point system and reform review process meaningless? Ji-won-ji says he's still too naive. "Have you ever seen anyone leave this facility properly? That's the job of those red prison uniform inmates. They cripple inmates who've accumulated enough points and are about to be released. Simply put, getting released easily is impossible." Lee Min-soo, who returned from volunteer work a week ago, is now just 50 points away from being eligible for release. The guards here remain as brutal as ever. Fights between the kids continue to break out constantly. Perhaps because they were taught a lesson by Min-soo and Hyun-jun, the kids from grade C room no longer cause them trouble. The only thing Lee Min-soo is anxious about now is that he needs to respond to Se-ra's confession on the next supply day. Originally, Kang Wook-sung brought Lee Min-soo here to clean the warehouse, but unexpectedly, it's already been cleaned. And Gu Se-hyun is also here training non-stop. Lee Min-soo is confused. Hasn't this place already been cleaned? Why bring him here? But before he can finish speaking, Kang Wook-sung puts handcuffs on him. Though Lee Min-soo is puzzled, Kang Wook-sung tells him to stand still. Then he pulls a ball out from a box filled with tennis balls and says he's thought of a way to train Lee Min-soo. From now on, Lee Min-soo's hands will be restrained. Then he just needs to dodge the balls Kang Wook-sung throws at him. Moreover, each ball thrown will be faster than the last. Lee Min-soo manages to dodge the first one by luck, but the speed of the second ball hits him like a wake-up call. This is what Lee Min-soo currently lacks: instinctive reactions to variables and danger. Lee Min-soo is confused about what Kang Wook-sung means by instinct. He defeated Gu Si-hyun and Jang Do-bo. Doesn't that mean he doesn't need training? Kang Wook-sung questions him. "Did you win those fights fair and square? The fighting styles of all three of you are too one-dimensional. Lee Min-soo just exploited their weaknesses. But if Gu Si-hyun had been prepared beforehand, he wouldn't have won at all. And if Lee Min-soo hadn't built some leg strength, how would he have defeated Jang Do-bo?" Now Gu Si-hyun is learning basic combat techniques from Kang Wook-sung, so he hopes Lee Min-soo will also undergo training. Although he hates fighting, this place is simply too dangerous. Ever since Jeonji told him about the red prison uniforms, Kang Wook-sung knows he must make Lee Min-soo strong enough to ensure he can be released normally. Meanwhile, construction supervisor Lee Kang-min is discussing matters with grade C2 room boss Lee Cho. Lee Cho believes this prison is no different from outside society. With money, you can control both inmates and guards. So he wants to invite Lee Kang-min to join his assembled forces. That way, perhaps they can deal with a special detention block where the red prison uniforms exist. If Lee Kang-min agrees to join, Lee Cho will give him 20% of the business profits as compensation, roughly 4,000 in pure income per month. And even if Lee Kang-min wants to wear a red prison uniform, Lee Cho promises to handle it for him. But Lee Kang-min's response leaves Lee Cho stunned. Lee Kang-min states that no matter how good the plan is, working with the weak will only ruin his reputation. Hearing this, Lee Cho snaps his fingers. "Then I'll give you more time to think it over. Besides, why do you think I asked to meet you without guards or subordinates present?" As the snap echoes, grade C2 room boss in Chol-soo, grade D3 room boss Jang Sang-hyun, grade D1 room boss Park Tae-ho, and grade C6 room boss Oh Sung-jin appear one after another. 4 different room bosses surround Lee Kang-min completely. Lee Cho asks Lee Kang-min, "So what do you say?" Change your mind now? Lee Kang-min removes his glasses. Not bad. Using money to recruit skilled fighters. But do you think 4 people are enough? At this moment, Lee Min-soo, facing the tennis balls thrown by Kang Wook-sung, has adapted. His movements are crisp, his dodges are precise, using only the most necessary motions. Lee Min-soo never learned anything like this before. It's safe to say this guy's talent is absolutely top tier. Seeing this training has lost its effectiveness, Kang Wook-sung decisively initiates stage 2 of the tennis ball dodge training. Unlike the previous straight-line attacks, this time the thrown tennis balls will have a second ricochet. The throwing rate also increases by a level. This forces Lee Min-soo to not only face balls thrown from the front, but also watch for ricochet attacks from his blind spots. These attacks targeting blind spots are difficult even for some professional fighters to handle. So what Lee Min-soo needs to do in Stage 2 training is accumulate experience dealing with multi-angle attacks and develop instinctive reactions. Lee Min-soo doesn't understand. He gets all this, but why restrain his arms? Kang Wook-sung explains that arms can be used for both offense and defense, so they should only be used when you absolutely can't dodge or block. And Gu Se-hyun, after a period of training, his progress is clearly greater than expected, but the road ahead is still long. Kang Wook-sung is only here to guide their training. What truly makes them stronger isn't him but themselves, because the training Kang Wook-sung has arranged for them this time will be hellish. Only if they endure past this threshold will their potential truly blossom. But if they can't make it through, their potential will forever remain just potential. At the same time, Kang Wook-sung is quite curious. After the hellish training ends, which of these two will become stronger? Meanwhile, guard Jeonji opens the door to Lee Kang-min and Lee Cho's secret meeting. Lee Kang-min has already dealt with all 4 room bosses. Only Lee Cho remains, begging for help from the just-arrived Jeonji. But he doesn't know that guard Jeonji and Lee Kang-min have already formed an alliance. This meeting was a scheme, devised by the two of them. The purpose was to extort the safe combination for Lee Cho's hideout outside. Lee Kang-min's people, following the address provided by Jeonji, have already taken over Lee Cho's hideout. Inside is roughly 200 million, and according to their agreement, guard Jeonji will get 10% of it. Lee Kang-min tells him it'll be deposited today, but only if Jeonji goes and tells the special detention block people that he wants to see them. The next day, when Lee Min-soo goes to the kitchen to work, Jang Do-bo awkwardly tells him he can't work in the kitchen anymore. Guard Jeonji explains from the side that the kitchen crew is now overstaffed, so they need to cut people, and asks if Lee Min-soo would be willing to go to the construction crew, where there happens to be an opening. Lee Min-soo looks at the application form handed to him, somewhat doubtful. Is it really okay to do this without Kang Wook-sung's permission? What if it disrupts the original plan? But under Jeonji's urging, this is currently the only way to earn points. Helplessly, Lee Min-soo can only agree. Jang Do-bo watches their departing figures, silently hoping in his heart that Lee Min-soo will be careful. After all, being cut from the kitchen crew and then transferred to the construction crew is all part of someone's plan. Soon, Lee Min-soo arrives at the construction crew's worksite. Looking at these people's intimidating faces, Lee Min-soo wonders to himself, are these people really high schoolers like him? He hopes the supervisor here won't be someone like Jang Do-bo. If he's as domineering as that guy, it'll be trouble. At this moment, Supervisor Lee Kang-min walks over. He tells his subordinates to be friendly and not scare their friend who's come to help them. He also thoughtfully brings Lee Min-soo a pair of gloves. I'm the construction supervisor, Lee Kang-min. Working here with bare hands will get you hurt. Lee Kang-min instructs his subordinates that this is Lee Min-soo's first time operating machinery, so they should help him get familiar with it. He also warmly tells Lee Min-soo that if he has any problems in the future, he can tell him anytime. At this moment, Lee Min-soo feels in his heart that being transferred to the construction crew was the right choice. This supervisor is both gentle and friendly, completely different from Jang Do-bo. But little does he know, in the shadows, Lee Kang-min's eyes are staring at him like a hungry wolf. Soon, through behind-the-scenes manipulation, a red prison uniform inmate leaves the special detention block. She complains to the guard about how these kids live in a place like this. This place reeks of lonely old men. The guard warns her he's only giving her 5 minutes. Finish your business and get back. As the guard opens the door, this red prison uniform inmate walks into Lee Kang-min's room. But what no one expected is that this red prison uniform inmate is actually a girl, Park Hyo-shin. The subordinates are confused. How can there be a woman in a men's correctional facility, though she does look a bit like a man? But at this moment, Lee Kang-min instructs them to immediately lower their heads and cover their ears. Hearing this, the subordinates all comply. Park Hyo-shin asks if they're playing at being a cute version of gangsters. Lee Kang-min states that until he gives the signal, these people won't see or hear anything. Park Hyo-shin asks if he's Lee Kang-min. Your looks suit my taste. Lee Kang-min says Park Hyo-shin isn't the person he met before. Park Hyo-shin explains that Kim Hoi-ryong has other matters to handle. Are you disappointed? You don't like me? Lee Kang-min adjusts his glasses. Not disappointed, just someone new. Park Hyo-shin, looking at his gaze, covers her face in an exaggerated manner. Staring at me like that makes me embarrassed. Lee Kang-min calculates in his mind that she looks frail, yet wears a red prison uniform. Quite unexpected. Lee Kang-min asks how she ended up in this dump. Park Hyo-shin holds up 3 fingers. The number of candidates is back to 3. Hearing this, Lee Kang-min wonders in his heart why it's still 3. He clearly confirmed that Jang Do-bo and Gu Si-hyun were both eliminated. Park Hyo-shin states the first is him, Lee Kang-min. The second is maintenance team's Ha Sung-chul. And the third is Greater Room boss Lee Min-soo. Lim Ji-soo suddenly participated in nominating Lee Min-soo as a candidate. Hearing this name, Lee Kang-min's eyes flash with disbelief. He says he's already proven his abilities. He really doesn't understand why he's still just a candidate. Park Hyo-shin smiles and says he hasn't proven anything. If you really look at what he's accomplished, wasn't it all thanks to his older brother Lee Kang-won? Even if a tiger stands behind a rabbit is still just a rabbit. Hearing this, Lee Kang-min freezes for a moment, not understanding how she knows about his brother. Park Hyo-shin leans to his ear. Cute little rabbit, can you prove your strength without the tiger? Hearing this, Lee Kang-min removes his glasses. If I defeat you right here and now, that'll prove my abilities, right? Lee Kang-min falling for such simple provocation gives Park Hyo-shin a headache. You're clearly not ready yet. As she speaks, her aura changes instantly. Do you think I look weak? This sudden, chilling feeling makes Lee Kang-min shudder. He clearly senses that this person in front of him is definitely not inferior to him. Park Hyo-shin tells him not to take it too hard. Lee Kang-min is still a very competitive candidate. That's why she wanted to meet him personally. And as long as Lee Kang-min can defeat one of the remaining candidates, Park Hyo-shin will consider that as proof. When that time comes, Shin Hui-ryong will help Lee Kang-min advance this matter. After Park Hyo-shin leaves, Lee Kang-min's tense nerves finally relax. He doesn't quite understand. Was he really that nervous just now? But what's important is, now he only needs to defeat one of the two. And Lee Min-soo, who's in his own crew, might be a good choice. But Lee Kang-min, looking at Lee Min-soo's slender frame, doesn't look like someone who could defeat Jang Do-bo and Gu Se-hyun. So he plans to test him out a bit first. At Lee Kang-min's signal with a glance, 2 subordinates instantly understand. Lee Min-soo is working cheerfully. At this moment, a hammerhead flies toward him. Lee Min-soo's instinctive reaction triggers instantly. The attacking subordinate immediately apologizes that it wasn't intentional. Then, as Lee Min-soo walks toward another area, he's tripped by a wire. Below him is a board covered with nails, just a hair's breadth away from the nails piercing his eyes. The attacker apologizes in the same tone. This makes Lee Min-soo sense something isn't quite right. Are these really accidents or intentional? If intentional, what are they after? But before he can think much more, those subordinates surround him. Under the pretense of teaching Lee Min-soo how to operate the table saw, they control his hands and push Lee Min-soo's palm toward the high-speed rotating table saw. Just as Lee Min-soo's hand is about to be ruined, someone suddenly shuts off the circuit breaker. The scene plunges into darkness. When the lights come back on, those 3 subordinates are all lying on the ground. Lee Min-soo innocently explains he didn't hit them. But seeing the crowd gathering around, Lee Min-soo seems to understand in his heart. This is a trap aimed at him. Looking at Yoon-chul, Soo, and Jang Sang-hyun slowly approaching him, Lee Min-soo isn't sure whether he should fight back. If he takes the risk, he'll likely lose penalty points. After careful consideration, Lee Min-soo decides to shout loudly to attract the guards' attention. 2 guards hearing the shouts indeed notice what's happening here, but the next second, they continue chatting as if nothing's wrong. This leaves Lee Min-soo very confused. It seems these guards are on their side too. Yoon-chul, Soo, and Jang Sang-hyun's attacks are now upon him. Meanwhile, Gu Si-hyun is still doing extra training in the warehouse. Kang Wook-sung reminds him it's late, and he should go back. If he's late for warehouse organizing, it'll make them suspicious. But Gu Si-hyun says one more round. This time he can definitely pass stage 1 training. After all, that guy Lee Min-soo has already passed stage 2 training. While he's stuck on stage 1, he doesn't want to lose to that bastard Lee Min-soo. At this moment, Lee Min-soo, facing the attacks of the 2, dodges continuously with ease. Because Lee Min-soo doesn't want to cause trouble, he has no intention of fighting back. After all, his original purpose was to earn some points here and leave quietly, so he absolutely cannot lose points. Lee Kang-min, observing from the side, seems to see through something. Is this guy afraid the guards will deduct his points so he doesn't dare fight back? Thinking this through to probe Lee Min-soo's true strength, Lee Kang-min has the guards step outside for a moment. He'll handle this. Seeing the guards leave, Lee Min-soo no longer plans to hide his abilities. Long suppressed, he's been wanting to fight back. This is a perfect chance to put his recent training results into practice. But unexpectedly, he feels these 2 are a bit too weak. Whether it's because Lee Min-soo is too strong or they're too weak is unclear. Soon, and Chul Soo and Jang Sang-hyun are dealt with. Lee Kang-min also resolves his doubts. So it seems you didn't beat Gu Si-hyun and Jang Do-bo by luck. Lee Min-soo asks, did he orchestrate this childish stunt? What did I do wrong to deserve this betrayal? Lee Kang-min says he and Lee Min-soo are both candidates, but Lee Min-soo has never even heard of any candidates. He just wants to earn some points here. Hearing this, Lee Kang-min removes his glasses with some resentment. Just because of a guy who doesn't even know what a candidate is, I have to prove my strength. I originally planned to let my subordinates handle this, but now I'm being compared to someone who knows nothing. It really pisses me off. So I've changed my mind. I'll deal with you personally. Lee Min-soo says, if you want to fight, just say so. Why put on this act and waste effort? With that, Lee Min-soo raises both middle fingers. Come at me, you bastard. A war between the two candidates is about to break out. A subordinate asks senior inmate Chang Hee, isn't Lee Min-soo his roommate? Only after engaging does Lee Min-soo feel how terrifying his opponent is. Lee Kang-min's punching speed is on a completely different level from those two earlier. Lee Min-soo, barely managing to dodge, already feels strained. The opponent's attacks are like a predator locked onto prey, pressing forward step by step without mercy. This gives Lee Min-soo the impression that his opponent studied boxing, but he also knows he can't keep dodging forever. He must find an opening to counterattack, but Lee Kang-min's strength exceeds his imagination. This punch is easily caught by Lee Kang-min's single palm. Looks like you never learned how to attack. Was it like this when you fought others too? Seems Gu Si-hyun and Jang Do-bo weren't that impressive either. Lee Kang-min's attacks are swift and fierce, continuously suppressing Lee Min-soo. Lee Min-soo can only keep dodging. At this moment, Lee Min-soo seizes the opportunity when his opponent's punch misses. As he tries to counter, his head takes a fierce elbow strike. In expert combat, seemingly exposed openings are actually traps laid for the opponent. After dozens of dodges, Lee Min-soo again spots an opening in, but this is still a trap. Just as Lee Min-soo tries to punch back, Lee Kang-min delivers a front kick right at him. Then, using the momentum, he steps on Min-soo's defensive arm into the air. A knee strike comes straight at him. At this moment, Lee Min-soo feels he's done for, but suddenly a hand blocks Lee Kang-min's knee. Kang Wook-sung appears just in time to stop the conclusion of this battle. Kang Wook-sung's eyes turn cold as he states, "This fight ends here. If you continue, I'll put you both in solitary confinement." Lee Kang-min wonders when he came in, and he's definitely not from the construction crew. Kang Wook-sung questions, "Got a problem? And why didn't the other guards come stop this? Don't tell me they deliberately gave you space to fight." Two guards quickly explain they went for a smoke, didn't see what happened. After that, Kang Wook-sung takes Lee Min-soo and leaves the construction crew warehouse. Standing there, Lee Kang-min curses inwardly. Damn it, he was so close to finishing this. But next time, Lee Min-soo won't be so lucky. Kang Wook-sung brings Lee Min-soo to the infirmary. Lee Min-soo asks why he's not angry. "I thought you'd be furious I got into a fight." Kang Wook-sung says he doesn't know the reason yet. "But why did you go to the construction crew?" Lee Min-soo explains they said the kitchen crew was cutting staff, and the only place left to earn points was the construction crew. But Kang Wook-sung understands there was no such order for kitchen crew reductions. Thinking carefully, something similar happened before, when Min-soo was assigned to the kitchen crew. It seems someone has targeted Lee Min-soo. At this moment, Lee Min-soo complains somewhat frustrated, just like the fight with Gu Si-hyun. "I couldn't land a single punch on him, and couldn't avoid all his attacks either." Kang Wook-sung says this is normal. That guy Lee Kang-min most likely studied martial arts like kickboxing. So unlike Gu Si-hyun and the others, this guy can't be defeated with tricks or strategy. To beat him, you can only improve your raw strength. So Kang Wook-sung plans to start stage 3 training for Lee Min-soo, and before the training ends, he'll stay with him at the construction crew. Though he doesn't know who schemed against Lee Min-soo, for now he can only focus on improving his strength while waiting for an opportunity to confront whoever's in the shadows. This accompanying behavior from Kang Wook-sung leaves Lee Kang-min unable to find an opportunity to deal with Lee Min-soo. Even though he had a guard steal Kang Wook-sung's personal file, he can't find any weakness. He calculates that just one day, if only Kang Wook-sung would leave for one day. So he takes out a phone from the drawer, dials, and instructs the person on the other end to help him with something, and warns them not to tell his brother about this. 1 week later, on a certain night, Kang Wook-sung stands on the street checking the time, waiting for someone, and this person is Gu Se-min. Gu Se-min brushes back her hair and apologizes for being late. Kang Wook-sung says it's nothing. He figured as much. So he left 30 minutes late too, and their meeting on the street is being monitored. Through surveillance, Lee Kang-min's subordinates have found Kang Wook-sung's weakness. After Gu Se-min and Kang Wook-sung say goodbye and part ways, a black car follows Gu Se-min to an alley entrance. Several of Lee Kang-min's subordinates get out of the car, thanks for walking into the alley alone. Gu Se-min, seeing this scene, asks what they're doing. Following me is one thing, but bringing so many people? The subordinate says Gu Se-min needs to come with them. Gu Se-min says no problem, but she needs to put out her cigarette first. She's trying to quit smoking. Meanwhile, in the warden's office, the warden asks Jeonji about Kang Wook-sung's recent activities. Jeonji responds that Kang Wook-sung seems overly fixated on Lee Min-soo. After he assigned Lee Min-soo to the construction crew, his expression has been off. He regularly goes to the construction crew, seemingly intentionally protecting Lee Min-soo. The warden asks if there's anything else. Hearing this, Jeonji responds that Kang Wook-sung recently asked him about the red prison uniforms. The warden says the first reason for initially transferring Lee Min-soo to the kitchen crew was to test Kang Wook-sung's reaction. That's why he sent Jeonji and Kang Wook-sung to do volunteer work together. And now, although transferring Lee Min-soo to the construction crew was partly a request from the special detention block, it ultimately comes down to Kang Wook-sung being too suspicious. He's the only one prohibited from accessing the military network. All information about him comes from received files, so the warden has already commissioned an external agency to conduct a background check on him. Results should come soon, and until then, Jeonji's job is to continue monitoring him. Jeonji asks curiously, "It's normal for us to monitor Kang Wook-sung, but why are you and the special detention block people so interested in Lee Min-soo?" Hearing this, the warden says calmly, "Because he looks like someone." At this moment, Lee Min-soo is washing up in the bathroom, unaware that an even bigger trap is quietly approaching. It's been 2 weeks since he fought Lee Kang-min. Though he's been training constantly, he's not confident he can defeat him. After all, Lee Kang-min is the type who can only be defeated with pure strength, and to do that, Lee Min-soo needs to at least pass stage 3 training. At this moment, Whitehair hears someone ask him to toss the soap over, but his hand slips, accidentally throwing the soap toward the unguarded Wang Hyuk. Just as the soap is about to hit Wang Hyuk's back, Lee Min-soo, as if sensing danger, intercepts it directly. Lee Min-soo tells Moon Hyun-jun to be more careful and not drop it again, but Whitehair's face is full of disbelief. He doesn't understand how Lee Min-soo did that without even looking, and Lee Min-soo's body has also become increasingly muscular. After washing up, someone asks Lee Min-soo why Guard Kang didn't come today. Lee Min-soo says he asked another officer. They said he suddenly took leave and told him to go organize the storage room today. At this time, senior inmate Chang-hee approaches Lee Min-soo. He hopes they can talk alone for a bit. Lee Min-soo says, "Aren't you in the construction crew too? Looks like you were the one who shut off the circuit breaker and saved me last time." Chang-hee says he still doesn't understand how terrifying Lee Kang-min is. With that, he pulls down his pants in front of Lee Min-soo. At first, Lee Min-soo is alarmed, not understanding what he means. Only after seeing the scar on Chang-hee's thigh does he gradually understand the situation. Chang-hee says he was once Lee Kang-min's friend and subordinate. Lee Kang-min was the gang boss who ruled the Daehyun-dong district. He used to work under him. He only defied him once and ended up like this. Chang-hee says if Lee Kang-min were just good at fighting, he wouldn't try to stop him. But Lee Kang-min is truly cruel. Anyone who defies him suffers severe retaliation. So Chang-hee hopes Lee Min-soo won't go to the construction crew anymore, because he might really end up crippled and sent out of the facility. Lee Min-soo says if Guard Kang isn't there, he won't go. Under Lee Min-soo's repeated assurances, Chang-hee tentatively believes him. But though he says this, Lee Min-soo thinks to himself that if his and Kang Wook-sung's plan requires it, he might have to fight again. Meanwhile, Lee Kang-min is calling his subordinates to check the situation, instructing them to notify Kang Wook-sung immediately once they bring the person to the hideout. Then just make sure he can't make it to the facility today. The subordinates ask what to do with the girl afterward. Lee Kang-min says whatever they want. Hearing this, the subordinates are overjoyed. Looks like there's a party tonight. Tied up in the back seat, Gu-semin's expression shows some shock. This isn't quite what she expected. From that phone call, there's subordinates of someone named Lee Kang-min inside the facility. The purpose of tying her up is to delay Kang Wook-sung. Actually, they spotted these people following them yesterday. Kang Wook-sung told her their target was either him or her. They might be the hidden dark side of the facility, or possibly the real culprits trying to frame Min-soo, or people connected to the red prison uniforms. He was prepared to be the bait. But what Kang Wook-sung worried about was that their target was Gu-semin, but Gu-semin gave him her motorcycle keys, saying if she's the one being targeted, surely you'll come save me in time, right? And at this moment, a motorcycle is following closely behind the black vehicle. Meanwhile, at the facility, Lee Chang-hee confronts Lee Kang-min. He tells Lee Kang-min to stop targeting Lee Min-soo. Though he doesn't know why you've set your sights on him, he's just trying to earn points. Lee Kang-min calmly asks why he should listen to this. Chang-hee says it's because he's also a member of the construction crew, but he's no longer that subordinate from before. "I'm asking you this as your childhood friend." Actually, back in elementary school, he and Lee Kang-min were best friends. But after graduating elementary school, Lee Kang-min started taking over his brother's business, while Chang-hee studied while taking care of his mother. Due to their different circumstances, they lost contact. Once Chang-hee entered high school, he got his driver's license and started working as a delivery worker. A restaurant owner, after understanding his situation, kindly lent him a motorcycle. Thanks to this, Chang-hee was able to work as a delivery worker and pay for his mother's medical expenses. One delivery address was an abandoned factory. This was the gathering place for Lee Kang-min's gang. Here, Chang-hee encountered Lee Kang-min again after many years. Lee Kang-min asked if he wanted to make money more easily by adding cockroaches to food deliveries, then leaving numerous negative reviews in the merchant's shop comments, making it impossible for the merchant to do business. To delete the bad reviews, they'd have to pay them. Naive and ignorant, Chang-hee joined them and earned his first first real money in life. If this continued, he'd soon be able to pay his mother's hospital bills. But the extorted Chinese restaurant owner passed away shortly after. When Chang He found out, he realized the uncle they'd extorted was the Chinese restaurant owner who had helped him. At that moment, he realized the kind uncle had died because of him. He fell into deep self-blame. So he sought out Lee Kang-min, hoping they could turn themselves in together. But hearing this, Lee Kang-min grabbed him by the throat. "If I had any intention of turning myself in, I wouldn't have started this. I gave you a way to make money, and you want to turn yourself in. You know I never forgive traitors." With that, Lee Kang-min stabbed a steel pen to Chang He's thigh. "If you spout this crap again, I'll kill you." But at the same time, Lee Kang-min's brother Lee Kang-wan also arrived. He was the real leader of this criminal gang. Lee Kang-wan told his brother they'd been discovered. "The police are coming soon. You should have kept this under wraps." But there were too many victims, and even a death. Lee Kang-min suggests letting this guy on the floor take the blame, but his brother tells him this isn't something that can be solved by sacrificing one subordinate, so he has the underage Lee Kang-min share the responsibility. Afterward, Chang He and Lee Kang-min were sent to the Reformation Correctional Facility. Chang He says this is the first time they've talked face-to-face like this since then. Lee Kang-min says he came because of Lee Min-soo, but he had similar thoughts. He originally planned to meet him about Lee Min-soo anyway, since he blocked Kang Wook-sung but had no way to contact Lee Min-soo. Chang He asks in confusion what he means. The next second, he's pinned to the table by subordinates. "You know why I took on the troublesome position of construction supervisor? Because in the construction crew, if someone gets injured or becomes an idiot, no one suspects anything. And what he's going to do is take one of Chang He's fingers as an invitation gift for Min-soo." Meanwhile, Lee Kang-min's subordinates have also reached the hideout. And as instructed, they send Kang Wook-sung a message to come here alone before 12 o'clock, but Kang Wook-sung has already arrived. The kidnappers are gathered in the warehouse, confident that Yu-sung won't show up for at least 2 or 3 hours. His girlfriend, meanwhile, isn't scared, not even close. When one of the men decides to get cute about it, suggesting she seems to be enjoying herself tied up like that, he doesn't get to finish the thought. A helmet comes out of nowhere and takes him clean off his feet. Yu-sung walks in, calm as anything. The others can't figure out if he got there impossibly fast or had been following them the whole time. Either way, they're not thrilled. They've got numbers and they know it. Yu-sung knows it too. He also knows that in a drawn-out fight, he's the one who runs out of gas first, so he doesn't let it drag out. He moves through the crowd like he's done this before, deflecting one attack and countering another in the same motion, never stopping. When someone tries to catch him off guard, he answers with an elbow to the chest, then a shot to the chin, and takes a second to point out that dropping your guard is a bad idea. A bald guy charges from behind, furious. Yu-sung ducks, grabs the man's leg, and bends the knee the wrong way. Fight over for that one. One of the bandits watching from the side has to admit it. Most people would be falling apart right now. Yu-sung looks like he's enjoying himself. Standard tactics aren't going to cut it against someone like this, so one of them goes for a knife instead. Yu-sung catches the arm before it gets anywhere near him, twists the wrist, and that's that. His girlfriend watches the whole thing and, despite clearly being annoyed, gives him full credit. Elsewhere, Min-soo is flat on the ground next to a tennis ball, completely spent. He and his long-haired partner trade tired insults. Min-soo claims he basically hit stage 3 today. The other guy tells him to come up with something more believable, and Min-soo fires back that someone stuck at stage 2 wouldn't understand anyway. They're still laughing when a cop walks over and asks why they're not cleaning up. He hands Min-soo a wrapped package, a gift from Chang-ji apparently. Then Min-soo opens the note inside and the mood shifts. It's from Lee Kang-min. The message is simple: be there in 1 hour or there's another present waiting. Whatever's inside the package, it's enough to make Min-soo's eyes go wide. Back at the warehouse, Yu-sung cuts his girlfriend loose. She immediately punches him in the stomach. She's furious. Her hands were killing her, and she wants to know if he got so caught up in the fight that he forgot she existed. He says he came as fast as he could. She tells him with a very flat expression that she'll take his word for it, but the whole kidnapping was never really about her. It was a distraction, a way to pull Yu-sung out of Gangyo so the real target, Min-soo, would be exposed. Someone had been tracking Yu-sung's location and gave the signal the moment he was on his way. Yu-sung remembers being told to stay away from the civil engineering crew until stage 3. He was played, and now someone is walking down a staircase toward Min-soo's location, unhurried, deliberate. The man says he noticed Yu-sung's brother had something in the works and decided to watch from a distance, but now he's done watching. He says it's rare to find someone worth fighting at his level, and he figures Yu-sung would understand that feeling. Not that the reasons matter anymore. Lee Kang-won, head of the Ems gang in Gangdong district, is ready to go. In a locked room somewhere else, a beaten and sweating young man is trying to crawl across the floor. Someone steps on his already injured hand. A group of inmates watches without moving. The redhead standing over him asks, with a smirk, whether facing Lee Min-soo is really that hard. The man on the floor looks up, and through everything, the pain, the exhaustion, he tells the redhead to get out of his way. Then he says it again, louder, like he means it. Min-soo finally snaps and throws himself at the redhead, and the redhead isn't impressed. He figures the kid has nothing real to back up the aggression, that the attacks are sloppy, and that he could end this whenever he wants. except Minsu keeps dodging. Every punch, every follow-up, every elbow slipped clean. The redhead starts to realize this isn't luck. The kid studied him, and now Minsu has lined up something there's no getting out of. The redhead tries to adjust, moving his feet, firing off a kick before the punch can land. It doesn't work. The kick gets blocked before it even connects, and Minsu steps back to reset. The other inmates watching start to notice. The kid is clearly stronger than before, but he hasn't landed a single clean hit. Turns out that wasn't really the point. While everyone was watching the fight, Minsu was buying Chang-hee enough room to breathe, pulling him out from under Kang Min's pressure. Chang-hee, hand busted up, thanks him for it, and now Minsu asks if they can stop holding back. Meanwhile, across town, things are going worse. The gang boss comes down the stairs and invites Yu-seong to settle this the direct way. Yu-seong reads him immediately. This isn't like anyone he's faced before. He's in a different category entirely. Yu-seong even wonders if avoiding this fight might be the smarter call. The man shuts that down fast. If Yu-seong won't fight, the girl goes instead. Either way, someone's paying for the mess they made. Yu-seong doesn't wait for him to finish the sentence. He goes straight for the head, and the kick lands like hitting a wall. Lee Kang-won blocked it without effort. Without even shifting his weight, Yu-seong pushes through, uses the momentum, goes for the back of the neck with everything he has. He's the one who feels the impact. Before the move was even halfway done, Kang-won countered with a short strike to the ribs, and Yu-seong is sent flying. He manages to land on his feet, but the pain tells him something might actually be broken. Kang-won asks, almost casually, whether that hit did anything, because if he'd meant it, the kid's spine would be gone. He seems genuinely curious how it felt. Yu-seong knows he can't drag this out. He goes back in, and Kang-won just reflects every attack back at him like it's a warm-up drill. Then he tells Yu-seong the fight is getting boring. When Yu-seong throws a spinning kick, Kang-won sees it coming from a mile away and says so, adding that this is what you get from people who learn to fight from textbooks. Predictable, no creativity. That lands harder than the punch did. Yu-seong is humiliated, and somewhere in the back of his mind he wonders what kind of fights this man has been in to look at him like that. For Kang-won, the answer is simple, all of them. He grew up with nothing, no stability, no one looking out for him. Fighting wasn't a hobby or a discipline, it was how he ate. Getting hit hurt less than going hungry, and beating the people who hit him felt good, so he kept going. Dozens of fights, then hundreds, street to street, block to block, until he ran the whole area. So no, beating Yu-seong isn't a surprise to him. He crouches down and tells the kid he's decent for what he is. But guys like him all look the same after a while, and that's the problem. It's not fun anymore. He starts walking toward the girl instead, half interested, half bored. Then her expression shifts, and that actually gets his attention. But she's not looking at him. Yu-seong is back on his feet. He admits it, his attacks are basic. His master's instruction was clear. Against ordinary opponents, fundamentals are enough. But Yu-seong has been watching, and the man in front of him is not ordinary. So starting now, he's done holding back. So while Yu-seong's fight is heating up, we get a quick cut to somewhere out at sea, a congressman on a boat, pulling in a massive tuna like it's nothing, while his companion watches in quiet disbelief. The companion shifts the subject. He admits he half expected the boy to quit during Special Forces training, so he set him up as an assistant just to see what would happen. The congressman isn't surprised. He points out that 2 out of every 5 candidates drop out. The training is brutal, and even the athletic ones struggle to get through it. But this kid didn't just survive. He finished first in every single discipline, and broke every existing record the Special Forces had on the books. That raises an obvious question. Who exactly is he? The congressman explains his standard. Anyone who wants to be his son needs both the mind and the body. So he assigned the strongest person he knows to train him. A former North Korean special agent named Yoon Seok-jun, personally instructed by someone the congressman describes only as a monster. Back in the warehouse, Yu-seong makes good on his word. He walks straight toward Kang-won without a hint of hesitation. No guard up, no defensive posture, just forward. Kang-won finds it interesting enough to charge in, but his punch doesn't land. Yu-seong counters with 2 clean hits and Kang-won grins. Then he closes the distance, certain there's no room left to dodge. His eyes go wide when he realizes Yu-seong never planned to dodge at all. He catches the fist, wrenches the arm upward, and drives a strike straight into the joint. A clean, ugly fracture. Kang-won tries to push through it, throwing another punch, but Yu-seong blocks it with his elbow and breaks several of Kang-won's fingers in the process. Then he locks the arm and forces it into a hold that makes Kang-won scream. Even the girl watching, who doesn't know much about fighting, can tell something is different. This isn't about winning a fight. Yu-seong is systematically dismantling his opponent, targeting joints and pressure points with the kind of precision that has nothing to do with brawling. His eyes are completely blank. He ends the sequence with a direct strike to Kang-won's head. Cut to Minsu's fight. The crowd is noting that Kang-min has switched to kicks, which tells them something. Minsu is forcing him to adapt. Chang-hee watches with a bruised hand, and even he can see it. Kang Min's strikes are as sharp as ever, but they're no longer untouchable. Min-soo catches a fast kick just in time, but it's a setup. A punch follows immediately to his face, close enough that dodging looks impossible. He drops under it anyway, and spots Kang Min's other leg already moving. He gets his arms up and blocks the kick. Kang Min is attacking from two directions at once, trying to overwhelm any defense Min-soo can put together. Then Kang Min smiles and goes for the finisher. One leg raised, a high kick launched so fast that all Min-soo sees is a sneaker coming at his neck. The crowd is sure it's over. Even Chang-hee flinches. But Kang Min's expression isn't triumphant. It's worried, because Min-soo caught the leg. He tells Kang Min he was starting to think he'd never see his real best, that he'd been waiting this whole time for exactly that kick. The chapter opens on a flashback. Min-soo in training, tennis balls flying at him from a machine at full speed. He's doing his best to track them, blocking and deflecting what he can, taking the ones he can't. His arms get faster as his body adjusts to the rhythm. When the machine cuts off, Yusong tells him he's handling 5 balls without much trouble, so they're adding 5 more. Min-soo is not thrilled about that, but something's been bothering him. He'd noticed that even professional fighters don't dodge everything, and he wanted to know why. Yusong explains it plainly. Pros choose which hits to take. Sometimes they eat a shot on purpose, because they're confident the counter they land afterward will hurt more. As the number of balls goes up, Min-soo will reach a point where dodging everything isn't an option. Knowing which hit to absorb and which to avoid, that's the real skill. Back in the present, that lesson is exactly what Min-soo just applied. He's got Kang Min's leg locked in his arm, and he tells him he'd been waiting for that high kick the whole time. Kang Min can't pull free. The grip is too tight, the angle too clean. Then Min-soo does what Yusong taught him. Sacrifice the flesh to catch the bone. He takes the position, absorbs what he has to, and unloads. He hammers the same spot over and over until bones break in multiple places. When he finally releases the leg, Kang Min crumbles, clutching it in pain. And before he can even process what just happened, a straight punch catches him flush in the face. Min-soo tells him not to fall yet. There's more coming. We cut away from the fight, back to the warehouse where Yusong is. His face is marked up from his own brawl, and the girl with him notices immediately. She says his already beaten face looks even worse now. He tries to say something, but she stops him. Then she breaks down, pulling his head against her chest and telling him not to look at her while she cries. She says he could have ended it faster without taking so much damage. Yusong apologizes and holds her, but in his head, he's running the math. His last opponent wasn't easy. If he hadn't managed to break the guy's arm early, the outcome might have gone the other way. Breaking the fingers was another move that tipped the balance. He got through it, but it wasn't clean. Then the doors burst open. A formally dressed man walks in, followed by a large group. Yusong steps in front of the girl immediately and demands to know how they found this place. One of the men he'd beaten earlier admits he made a call while the two of them were busy with their moment. Before anyone can react, Kangwon grabs that man by the head and slams his face into the floor. Everyone in the room, including Yusong and the girl, goes wide-eyed. The informant is out cold. Kangwon, barely able to stand, says he's so embarrassed he could die. This fight is between him and Yusong. No one else should be involved. Having all these people here, he says, is like throwing filth in his face. Two subordinates move to help him walk, and as they lead him out, Kangwon pauses. With a smile, he admits he lost this one, but he's willing to come back 10 times, 100 times if that's what it takes. Yusong shuts that down immediately. He tells him they won't be seeing each other again. The gangsters file out through the gate. Back to Min-soo's fight. The crowd is stunned. Chang-hee has forgotten about the pain in his hand entirely. Kang Min has been getting dismantled since his legs were neutralized. Body shots, headshots, no real answer to any of it. Eventually he goes down. Min-soo tells him to get up. It's not over. Kang Min hits the floor, spots something nearby, grabs it, and charges, but Chang-hee moves fast enough to catch his arm before the attack lands. And while he's held there, Min-soo puts one more shot into his face. Kang Min can't believe it. He never thought he'd lose to someone like this, and he can't wrap his head around how much Min-soo has grown in such a short time. He takes hit after hit, trying to make sense of it. Eventually, he accepts it. He's not winning this. Min-soo drives forward and launches him. Kang Min skids across the ground, and for a moment he just lies there, not knowing what to do next. Then he starts laughing. He looks out at the crowd, spots Chang-hee, and starts screaming. The fight was unfair because Chang-hee interfered, and everyone standing around watching should be doing something about it. Then he goes further. If he fails to become a candidate, every single person watching is going to spend their life rotting in this place. His organization is part of his strength, he says. Min-soo can't do much standing alone. Min-soo turns around and reads the room. The crowd's eyes have shifted. The situation had already been messy. Now it's getting worse. Min-soo is dodging punches from every direction because Kang Min managed to turn the entire room against him. His hand is burning from blocking so many hits, and he's starting to think he might have fractured something from striking the same hard spot too many times. One moment of lost focus is all it takes. A punch catches him in the face, and then a group of guys grabs him and pins him down. He's outnumbered, his hand is shot, and someone is already winding up for a clean hit to his head. Then someone else gets there first. Ga Sejun walks in and drops the guy mid-swing, and Minsu can't believe what he's seeing. Sejun, casual as ever, jokes that his friend must have called him telepathically, then starts working through the crowd, saying something about paying back a debt from their days doing volunteer work at an orphanage. Kang Min watches this and immediately starts doing the math. Sejun wasn't supposed to be here, and his presence alone is enough to make the crowd hesitate. But then Kim Young-kwan steps forward, the vice chief of the civil engineering class, and apparently the first person who ever gave Kang Min real trouble when he arrived at the correctional school. Kang Min figures this is his best shot, and Young-kwan goes in hard. Sejun covers his eyes with his hands, Young-kwan swings blind, and by the time he realizes his target has moved, Sejun is already beside him. One clean punch sends Young-kwan into a stack of boxes. Kang Min watches his best bet crumple and can't quite process it, so he switches tactics. He tells Sejun to hold on, says he knows what's going on, knows Sejun is here to help Minsu, and that his people have Sejun's older sister as a hostage. Sejun doesn't buy it for a second, calls it exactly what it looks like, a desperate excuse from someone who knows he's losing. Then Kang Min pulls out his phone. There's a photo of the girl, tied up. He says her name, Gasemin, and explains that the guard Kang had been getting in the way, so they took her instead. The guard isn't around today because he's probably getting beaten trying to reach her. Minsu hears all of this and can't hold it together. He punches Kang Min square in the face before he can stop himself. Kang Min hits the floor, his phone skidding out of his hand. Minsu makes it clear that the act Kang Min had been putting on, the friendly, reasonable front, was exactly that, an act, and that a few weak lackeys aren't going to be enough to stop Kang Yusong. Kang Min, now desperate, tries one last move. He orders Sejun to kill Minsu if he wants his sister back. The two friends look at each other, and then both smile at exactly the same moment, like they rehearsed it. They bump hands. Minsu tells Sejun to handle it, since Kang Min made it personal by going after his family. Sejun, walking forward, says that's the first thing Minsu has said that he actually wanted to hear. Kang Min repeats the order, hoping something changes. Sejun tells him not to worry about his sister. If the guard Kang is with her, she's fine. But for going after her, and for what he did to the kids in their room, Kang Min has earned what's coming. Kang Min goes quiet. He's out of moves. While Sejun handles that, Minsu picks up the phone from the floor and dials. He gets his brother on the line, Kang Yusong, and the tone is immediately easy, almost amused. Minsu reminds him he'd been told not to go near the civil engineering block alone. The fact that he's calling means it worked out. Yusong confirms he got Samin out, then tells Minsu to call again once he's been thrown in solitary. They hang up like nothing happened. Semin, riding on the back of Yusong's motorcycle at full speed, lets out a breath of relief. Yusong mentions he could hear her younger brother's voice, and that he sounded genuinely furious about the kidnapping. She tells him they're heading to the hospital. He needs to get his ribs looked at. He complains. She sighs. So instead, she offers an alternative. They go to her place and he can meet her cat. They arrive at her place, and a chubby little orange cat is there to greet them, the same one Yusong had picked up a while back. Then the smell of food hits, and suddenly the apartment feels a lot warmer. Yusong thanks Semin for patching him up and cooking, and she immediately deflects. She's only making food because she's hungry, not for him. He watches her say it, and clearly doesn't buy a word of it. While he waits, he notices a framed family photo on the shelf. He figures out it's Semin's family, her, Sejun, their mother. And the man in the photo? Semin calls him her traitor of a father. No elaboration needed. A few minutes later, she calls him to eat, telling him to act like it's delicious, even if it isn't. But when she turns around, Yusong is flat on the floor, eyes closed, completely out. Only the cat bothers to respond. She's annoyed, genuinely annoyed, after all that effort. But she grabs a blanket from storage and lays it over him anyway, because she knows he earned the sleep. Then she decides that's not quite enough, lies down next to him, and pulls him close. Warm, quiet, comfortable. Neither of them says anything, because there's nothing to say. Meanwhile, across town, Kang Min is on the ground with the rest of his crew. Sejun asks if things are basically wrapped up, and Minsu wants to know how he even got there. Sejun explains that the prison guard Juseop told him he could come in, open invitation, apparently. Then Minsu remembers to check on Chang-hee's hand. The bandage comes off, and all his fingers are still attached. Chang-hee explains they were seconds away from cutting one off. In the civil engineering block, nobody cares if someone gets hurt, or worse, and Kang Min had already started the cut. But someone stopped it. Juseop grabbed Kang Min's hand right at the last second and told him to stand down. He'd personally bring Minsu in, so there was no need to go that far. Minsu then asks about the finger he saw earlier, wrapped up in cloth. Chang-hee immediately cuts him off, pointing at Minsu's own hand and telling him to look. The back of his fist has swollen to nearly twice its size. They agree he needs medical attention. But first, a quick rewind. We see a hand, a pair of pliers, and a finger that gets cleanly snipped off. Juseop smiles and figures that should be convincing enough, though maybe a little paint wouldn't hurt. Until the vice director gets back, he'd rather not have any incidents on his hands, or anyone else's. Back in the present, someone heads to the infirmary and stops cold at the sight of a prosthetic arm in a case, missing a finger. A guard grumbles that now he'll have to buy a new one. So that's what was in the package. Minsu gets treated. Minor fracture, some inflammation, nothing serious as long as he takes his medication and doesn't push it. The doctor says the swelling will go down. Pushing his body past its limits by copying his older brother's techniques is still costing him, and it shows. While he's there, he hears someone nearby asking whether they're about to become a red uniform prisoner. Minsu pulls back the curtain and freezes. It's Bucktooth, wrapped head to toe in bandages. He explains he went up against Kang Min and ended up like this, but he's grateful for the chance at payback. Minsu asks what the red uniform thing is about, and Bucktooth says he'll only talk if Minsu becomes his subordinate. Minsu picks up a feather and moves it toward Bucktooth's exposed foot. That's all it takes. Bucktooth immediately folds, laughing before the tickling even starts, and gives it up. Red uniforms are for high-priority detainees, people the facility has decided shouldn't be reintegrated into society. They're managed directly by the warden, kept separate from everyone else, and given a specific job, making sure inmates who are close to earning their release never quite get there. If manufactured demerits don't work, other methods do. The rumors say nobody leaves this place whole. Kids who've served their time and are about to be released get crippled first, because if they have to let someone go, they'd rather make sure that person can't cause problems on the outside. That's what the red uniform means. And the most likely next candidate is Minsu. Somewhere else entirely, a girl at an arcade machine mentions she didn't expect Kangmin to lose. Her companion, call him Lauro, says the real question is whether to back Ha Sung-cheol from the maintenance block or Lee Minsu, and maybe the cleanest answer is to make them fight it out. The other one, Luro, explains that the selection process is on hold for now anyway, because a major variable just re-entered the picture. Yu Seonil is back. 2 weeks pass. Kang Min gets sent to solitary as punishment for the fight. Word spreads fast. The rumor that Minsu took him apart single-handedly changes how the other inmates look at him almost overnight. He becomes the new leader of the civil engineering block, and his first order of business is telling everyone to get through the day without any incidents. In the hallways, people are still talking about it. Minsu admits he never expected his friends to follow him into civil engineering, and they ask whether it's true that he did all the real work while Sejun just landed the finishing blow. Then someone cuts through the conversation and tells everyone to stop moving. The guard lists off the violations: improper formation, disobeying orders, talking in the corridor. Yusong tries to smooth it over by explaining the guys just got back from volunteer work, but he gets called out immediately for not saluting. He corrects it fast, snapping into a proper salute, and before he can finish it, the guard cracks him across the face with a baton. Minsu goes rigid. The guard shouts at everyone to get back in line, louder when they don't move fast enough. This is Yu Seonil, vice director of the Rehabilitation and Correction Center. He's back, and he's already making that very clear. The other boys are stunned. Yusong is still on the ground, the pain from that baton strike not letting him up yet. Yu Seonil brushes it off. He was just breaking in a new recruit, he says. Then he notices Minsu's expression and finds it interesting. Minsu, for his part, is about 2 seconds from saying something that would make everything worse. Someone grabs him before he gets there. Sejun steps in, apologizes on his behalf, and explains that Minsu isn't quite himself right now. It's a smooth save. Yusong is still processing, still being held back by his friends, when a second guard walks over and tells Yu Seonil the director is waiting. That lands strangely. Yusong knows the vice director position has been empty for a long time, and now suddenly it isn't. One more thing that doesn't add up. Cut to the director's office. Yu Seonil enters with a formal greeting and announces he's officially back. The man behind the desk asks if everything went smoothly, and Yu Seonil confirms it did. Then he adds that discipline around here has slipped badly in his absence, and he intends to fix that starting now. The director seems almost surprised. The man just got back. Maybe he should rest a little. Yu Seonil declines. This isn't work to him, he says. It's personal satisfaction, and he makes his goal clear. He's going to turn human garbage into something better. Time passes. In a classroom, a teacher is walking students through intertextuality, how literary works shape each other. The students are not moved by this. One of them is losing the battle against sleep, vision going soft, eyes drifting shut. Then a chair flies across the room and hits him directly. Yu Seonil tells him that if he doesn't want to spend his life being useless, he shouldn't sleep in class. The student, shaken and hurt, apologizes. The reaction was extreme. Everyone in the room knows it. Meanwhile, Yusong is in the cafeteria, putting something together, and his thoughts keep circling back to the same place. The more he thinks about it, the angrier he gets. His brother shouldn't have to be here dealing with this. Not for him, not for any of them. He never wanted that. Then he glances over and sees Yu Seonil in the kitchen, demanding to know who gave the cook permission to serve food however he pleased. The young cook ends up covered in it. The threat that follows is clear enough. From that point on, the facility changes. In the dorms, everyone sits at rigid attention until lights out. In the hallways, movement happens in formation. The rules tighten around everything. And then it rains. Cold, gray, relentless. The boys are outside without shirts, being pushed face down into the mud. Water gets in their mouths. Some of them can't hold it together. One student vomits and immediately gets struck in the back of the neck. The guard wants to know who told him he could lift his head. More guards close in and push him back down. Minsu watches. Then he stops watching. He charges the guard, hits him with his body, and drops down next to the student, Hyun-jun, asking if he's okay. Another guard steps forward, tapping his baton against his palm. Yu Seonil's voice cuts through. Attacking a guard has consequences. Yu-song is still holding Hyun-jun when Minsu says what everyone is thinking, that none of this is right, and that Hyun-jun could have actually died out there. Yu-song steps in front of his brother. He apologizes to Yu Seonil directly and promises to handle the discipline himself. Yu Seonil asks if these boys are his responsibility. Yu-seong says yes. For a moment, it seems like that's enough. Yu-seonil agrees to leave them in Yu-song's hands and the tension starts to ease. Then he holds out a baton. He says he's always been curious how a guard handles his own students, and he'd like to see it. Right now, in front of him, the two brothers look at each other. Neither of them has a good option here. Yu-song doesn't know how to handle the order. His superior has just told him point blank to hit Minsu right there in front of everyone. He drops his head for a moment, then looks back at his brother. Minsu's expression is steady, and Yu-song reads it immediately. When the superior starts pushing, asking why he's hesitating over a simple demonstration, Yu-song tells him he knows how to discipline his students and just needed a second to think. Then he grips the baton with both hands and says he'll show exactly how it's done. He doesn't hesitate. He goes after his own brother, calling it his method, and Minsu hits the mud hard, curling up to protect his head. Yu-song orders him to get up, tells him he shouldn't be falling over something so minor. Minsu, still sharp-eyed, says he was already getting up, and takes a kick to the head before he can finish the sentence. It's a serious hit. The scene pulls back to a short while earlier. Yu-song is leaning against the wall outside the student locker room, telling Minsu to wrap it up and head back. Minsu says he needs to talk first. He's been sitting with something for a while now. Every crisis they've faced came from Yu-song trying to protect him, and the latest one left Yu-song getting beaten by the vice director. Yu-song brushes off the injury on his face, says it's nothing, says he'll find a way to protect everyone. Minsu steps closer and tells him that's exactly the problem. He's a guard, not a shield for everyone around him, and he made a promise to get them both out. What he needs from Yu-song, for the plan to work, is for them to bury the fact that they're brothers. Completely. And if things get worse, Yu-song has to act like a real guard. No mercy, no exceptions. He holds out his pinky finger. Yu-song looks at him in silence, quietly wondering when his little brother got like this. They lock fingers and seal it. That promise is what brought them here. Minsu face down in the mud, and Yu-song screaming at him to get up while privately hoping he won't. But the performance has to hold, so he keeps ordering, and Minsu, stubborn as ever, starts pushing himself off the ground, insisting it wasn't that bad. Yu-song lines up a kick. The moment Minsu gets upright, he's going to take everything. The other guards are watching. The students who know the truth can barely look. He closes in, raises the baton, and someone grabs his arm. Yu Seonil. He's seen enough. Yu-song argues that the lesson isn't finished, that Minsu needs to learn not to disobey. Yu Seonil points out calmly that you can't teach much to someone who's unconscious. He suggests solitary. Yu-song refuses, says Minsu needs medical attention first because a dead student is a paperwork problem nobody wants. Then he'll come right back. He grabs his brother by the hair and walks him toward the infirmary. Behind them, the director remarks that the vice director has never understood how punishment actually works. If the rat gets too broken, there's nothing left to play with. Then another guard arrives with a file, personal profile and background reports on Sergeant Kang Yu-song as requested. The director notes it came faster than expected, and then his expression shifts as he reads. Meanwhile, Minsu drifts under. He's dreaming. Back before the orphanage, back when the sky was just blue and the sun was out, and none of this existed yet. He's on Yu-sung's back, being carried, same as now, except somehow the shoulders feel broader than he remembered. He can barely keep his eyes open, but he realizes where he is and asks what's happening. Yu-sung tells him they're almost there. His head is down. Minsu asks if he's crying. Yu-sung says no, that's for weak people. Minsu apologizes for the trouble, for making Yu-sung do what he just did, and for everything still ahead that will probably require more apologies. Then he makes one ask. that they don't give up on each other. Yu-sung catches something different in his voice. There's weight behind it now. Min-soo says it plainly. He's getting out of this place no matter what it takes. The restricted area entrance is unguarded. No staff, no one watching the door. Yu-sung notices immediately and wonders what happened. Whatever secrets are tied to those red prison uniforms, they're behind that door. He moves carefully, slipping behind a pillar to get a better look. That's when he spots the vice president walking straight toward the entrance, access card in hand. The door unlocks and Yu-sung's mind starts connecting dots. Yu Seonil is tied to the red uniforms too. But before Yu-sung can process that, Yu Seonil speaks up. Turns out he already knew someone was watching, and instead of raising an alarm, he does something completely unexpected. He invites Yu-seong in. The two walk the corridor together, and Yu-seong still can't figure out how he ended up on the other side of that door. Reading this man is genuinely impossible. They reach another room, Yu Seonil opens it, and it's empty, just a large bare space. The vice president takes that in and concludes that the director must have already made his move. Then he turns to Yu-seong and asks if his curiosity is satisfied now. He follows it with a warning. Digging too deep in a place like this has consequences. Yu-sung asks why he was shown any of this at all. Yu Seonil's answer is blunt. As far as Yu-seong is concerned, he's the enemy who forced him to beat his own brother, and if someone walks into hell on their own, they'd better at least look like a demon. Otherwise, they'll get found out every time. Later, back in the work area, the other guards are gossiping about where the vice president has been. Yu-sung plays dumb. Turns out Yu Seonil was caught up in a bribery investigation, apparently took money from an inmate's family, admitted it, paid it back. The rumor is that the director set the whole thing up, since the two of them don't exactly get along. Yu-sung files that away. Maybe they're rivals. Maybe it's too early to call it. The conversation gets cut short when a fight breaks out between two inmates. Before the guards can react, a third person steps in, Min-soo, pulling the two apart with his bare hands and flashing a calm smile, telling them to save it for after work. One of the fighters doesn't appreciate the interruption and clocks him for it, telling Min-soo he's nobody's leader and that he's stabbed people on the outside. Min-soo's response is simple. He doesn't care about the guy's past, and he'd appreciate it if he listened while he was still being polite about it. That only makes things worse. The inmate swings again, and Min-soo drops under it, smooth and fast, and lines up a counter straight at the guy's jaw, then stops it cold, just short of landing. He lets it go, tells the man he's new so he'll overlook it, but work time is work time. The guy had underestimated him for being short. He doesn't make that mistake twice. Within minutes, Min-soo has everyone back in line and working. One of the guards mentions that ever since Min-soo took charge of the civil engineering crew, the whole operation has been running smoother. Yu-sung watches his brother and thinks about how much has changed since that phone call, since Min-soo said with total conviction that he was getting out no matter what. In the staff meeting room, Yu-sung is already thinking ahead. He needs to find ways to get Min-soo merit points faster. The next public service assignment turns out to be flood restoration work at a damaged village, civil engineering maintenance and cooking classes. Yu Seonil raises the question of accountability if any inmate sent outside escapes. The director isn't worried. The last assignment went clean, so this time they'll select inmates based on merit points and guard recommendations. If it goes well, it's good press for the facility. Meeting wraps up, everyone starts filing out, except Yu-sung. The director stops him. Before leaving, Yu Seonil glances back, suspicious, then the doors close. Yu-seong asks what he can do for the director. The man straightens Yu-sung's tie, says it was crooked, and then mentions he's always wondered what someone of Yu-sung's background is doing in a place like this. He says he finally figured it out. It's about his father, Congressman Kong Man-tae, the president's biggest political rival, the very man who created this facility. The director smiles and asks whether they should really be treating such a valuable son this way, and suggests maybe Yu-seong should be excused from the public service assignment entirely. Outside, the buses are rolling out through the open gates. On board, Min-soo asks his friends if they've seen his brother. Senju figures he's on another bus, then glances sideways and asks who the person next to Min-soo is. Min-soo looks over. Some guy he's never met in his life is fast asleep on his shoulder. Comfortable choice. Someone grabs a cooking ladle and asks what they're supposed to do next. The cooks aren't sure where to even start, because outside the situation has already turned into a full-scale war against the mud. The village got hit hard by the recent rains, record-breaking floods that left the whole area underwater. Min-soo's group moves in with a clear objective: clear the murky water and salvage what they can. Some inmates go house to house checking for anything still usable. Others look at the electrical systems, swapping out fuses where needed. The cooks hand out food to whoever's around. Meanwhile, the guy who'd been sleeping on Min-soo's shoulder is finally awake, yawning, leaning on his hand, wondering out loud how he ended up here. And watching Min-soo work, it's hard not to notice something. The guy leads naturally. People just follow him. He's not trying to, it's just how it goes. But he's not here by accident. There's a specific target. A man crouched over the parts of a wrecked car, concluding there's nothing left worth fixing. The white-haired figure watches from a distance, quietly waiting for the right moment to move. During the break, Min-soo sits down with his meal. The texture looks suspicious enough that he almost doesn't try it, but it's actually fine, better than expected. Before he can finish, though, an argument argument nearby pulls his attention. An old man is refusing to leave his home. The guard explains the ground is unstable after the flooding, but the elder isn't interested in explanations. He's lived there for decades and he's not going anywhere. When the guard suggests a temporary shelter, the old man calls it uncomfortable and then goes further. He accuses the inmates of stealing his wallet, pointing directly at Sejun and grabbing him by the collar. Sejun denies it. The old man doesn't care. People like that never change, he says. Seonil watches quietly and notes that this is exactly why inmates avoid public service work. One mistake from the past, and it follows you forever, no matter what you do after. To people like this old man, those young men are still criminals. Full stop. Then Moon Hyunjin steps in. Calm, polite. He asks if the missing item was a brown wallet, because he found one on the ground earlier and left it at the market. He apologizes for touching it, but he was worried the mud would take it. The old man doesn't thank him. He just says he'll go check, and warns the boy that if a single coin is missing, there will be consequences. Sejun thanks Moon Hyunjin quietly. The boy just says he told the truth. A woman comes over with a bowl of corn on the cob, offers some to the boys, and tells them not to take the old man's behavior personally. He's been like that since an accident involving some young guys on a motorcycle. Sejun takes a cob and eats. She smiles and asks if it's good. He says it's really good, and he means it. Cut to the Minyun Volunteer Services office. Guards at their desks, routine work. One of them pulls off his headphones. It's Yusong, reassigned here after being pulled from the public service mission. He'd figured it would happen eventually. His father being a congressman wasn't exactly a secret. He remembers the director's face when he said it. That cold smile, the certainty in his voice. Yusong was out and the director framed it as cutting the problem off before it grew. What that tells us, the director still doesn't know that Minsu and Yusong are brothers, but Seonil does. Yusong remembers that conversation. The vice president admitted he knew that the older brother had punished the younger one that day. What Yusong can't figure out is how he found that out, or what he actually wants. He decides he's going to get both answers. Back at the site, a guard approaches Seonil. Everyone's gathered, and with another heavy rain coming, they're moving to the temporary shelter for the night. All the inmates are GPS tracked, so there's no room for any funny business. Seonil looks at the sky and hopes nothing goes wrong. It does. The water rises fast, and mud starts pouring down from the mountains. A full landslide, and it hits the old man's house directly. Guards drag him away from the collapsing structure, but he fights them the whole time. Then he screams something that stops everyone cold. His wife is still inside. She couldn't get out. Her leg. Seonil immediately orders a rescue team and tells everyone to keep the inmates back. The mud keeps coming. The house could go at any second. Then someone crouches down and ties their shoelace. Minsu watches and asks Ga Sejun what he thinks he's doing. The look on Sejun's face answers the question before he does. And before anyone can stop him, he's already running straight toward the house. Minsu shouts after him that it's too dangerous, but Sejun isn't turning back. The rain doesn't let up, and neither does Ga Sejun. He's already moving toward the house before Minsu can get a word in. Inside, the ceiling is losing the argument with gravity, mud pushing through every gap. Sejun kicks the door open and calls out for the old woman. Nothing. Then a small chunk of debris drops straight onto his head. Less of an injury, more of a warning about what's coming next. Outside, the woman's husband is barely being held back by the police, screaming her name into the rain. Seonil is on the phone demanding a helicopter because the roads are gone. Then his colleague delivers the update nobody wanted. Some kids went inside. When Seonil asks who, the answer is Ga Sejun, and the friend who apparently decided that watching someone walk into a collapsing house wasn't an option. Lee Minsu went in after him. Minsu pulls Sejun out of the way, just as the section of ceiling he'd been standing under comes down. When Sejun asks why he came in, Minsu says it's simple. He's class leader. Some idiot was heading toward his own death, and that's his problem to deal with. He also says they can argue about it later, because they still haven't found the woman. They check the one part of the house they haven't searched yet, and that's where she is. Unconscious, buried under rubble. They clear the debris off her together, and Sejun lifts her. She's still breathing. Then the rest of the structure gives out. From outside, the other kids watch the roof collapse with Sejun and Minsu still inside. One of them doesn't just stand there. He gets his hands under the fallen structure and starts pushing. It's a heavy roof, and everyone can see what that kind of effort costs. Then a second pair of hands joins in. Two of them now, straining together, veins visible on the face of the first boy. The cooking class leader is already moving, and once he does, the rest of his class follows. The maintenance crew decides they're not going to be the ones who stood around watching. Everyone gets their hands on it. Inside, Sejun sees light breaking through. They get out, both of them, and the old woman with them. The group moves fast to get her clear before what's left of the house finishes falling. They make it, and for a moment, everyone wants to celebrate. The cooking class leader shuts that down immediately and tells them to run, because the structure is still going. They clear the area just in time to watch the house come apart completely. A while later, an ambulance arrives. The husband is right beside his wife, holding her hand, telling her to hold on. She comes around confused, asking how she's still alive. He doesn't have a great answer for that, just relief. Seonil's colleague raises the obvious question, shouldn't the boys be punished for ignoring orders? Then he adds something else. While Seonil was away, these kids changed. Not because of the adults running the program, because of what happened after Minsu showed up. Whoever's actually getting through to them, it isn't the staff. The next day arrives like nothing happened. Clear sky, clean air, the kind of weather that makes yesterday feel like a different world. The detainees are still on public service duty, except now the volunteer women have joined them, and the villagers are looking at them differently. Someone's already trying to feed them. One of the guards protests that she shouldn't be doing that. She puts a spoonful in his mouth anyway. Nearby, a radio report mentions that Moon Hoshik, president of the Yuksung group, has once again skipped his court appearance, citing chronic illness. Some of the older men listening wave Hyujun over to eat and rest. He turns around and accepts. Elsewhere, Gasamin has shown up with fruit punch and ice, and Sejun isn't entirely surprised. He'd had a feeling she'd come since Yusong couldn't make it. She ruffles his hair and tells him she's proud of him for saving the old woman, especially given that he used to claim he couldn't stand elderly people. Sejun doesn't deny it. He just says he couldn't ignore someone who'd been kind to him. Semin calls it good work, then adds one condition. He needs to stop throwing himself into danger like that. Sejun looks down at the drink she brought him and doesn't argue. As night falls, the group settles into the gymnasium. 2 days left. Everyone's quiet wish is the same. Just let it end without incident. Minsu wakes up needing the bathroom, sits up, and scans the room. Hyujun's bed is empty. He figures maybe the same reason, but something makes him look twice. Outside, in the dark, Hyujun is running through the woods, fast, breathless, and clearly not heading to the bathroom. Late night at the Citizen Services office, and Yusong is about 30 seconds away from eating instant ramen when his phone goes off. It's guard Shin Jusup, and the man is not calling to chat. He's panicking on the other end of the line, which is a problem, because whatever went wrong on Jusup's watch is going to land on him now that Yusong got demoted. Yusong's brother Minsu is there too, and he tells Jusup to keep his voice down before the whole building hears. Then he takes a breath and delivers the news. Hyunjun is gone, possibly escaped. Somewhere across town, Hyunjun has already helped himself to a donated scarf from a clothing bin, uniform left behind, and tracked down a bus stop. He asks an older woman how to get to Yuksung Hospital. She points at the incoming bus and tells him it's about a 30-minute ride. The bus pulls up, waits, and leaves. Hyunjun doesn't get on. He scratches the back of his neck because he doesn't have a single one on him, so he needs money. Back at the office, Yusong is already tracking him. Hyunjun hasn't moved far from the public service zone. He tells Jusup to stall until dawn, but even if someone left right now, it'd be a 4-hour trip, and Jusup can't leave his post. That leaves one option. The job goes to Gasemin. As she's heading out, she glances back. Sejun is already putting his helmet on, telling her to just go. He's thinking about the apology he never got to give Hyunjun. Meanwhile, a news segment plays about the Yuksung group chairman skipping his court date. Someone nearby grumbles that he's faking it to dodge the verdict. Right next to the TV, Hyunjun is crouched by a vending machine fishing for loose change. 51. He needs 1,300 more. A bald man walks over and offers to pay him, calls it a secret friend arrangement. Somewhere fun, just the two of them. Hyunjun says the place doesn't sound very fun. Then he notices the man's expression and decides not to wait around to find out more. He runs. After putting some distance between himself and that situation, he leans against a wall to catch his breath. The last bus is leaving soon and he still has no money. That's when he spots a homeless man asleep nearby, a cup of coins in front of him. The idea forms. Hyunjun reaches toward the cup, and the man opens his eyes. He wasn't asleep at all. He just smiles and tells Hyunjun to take it if he needs it. Hyunjun hesitates, says the man must have it harder than him. The man looks him over and disagrees. He says just pay it back 10 times over someday, and they're square. Hyunjun takes the loan. On the other side of the city, Semin and Sejun reach the GPS coordinates and find nothing. Hyunjun has already moved. Then Sejun hears shouting nearby. 3 guys are beating someone and demanding money. He's ready to let it go and keep moving, but then Semin hears something that stops her. Hyunjun has grabbed one of the attackers and is telling them to leave the man alone. He takes a punch to the head for it. The siblings look at each other. They found him. Hyunjun wasn't letting go. He kept holding the guy back, begging him not to hit the homeless man, while the guy complained that the kid was going to ruin his clothes. Then a second member of the group wound up for a punch, and Hyunjun never saw it coming. No time to dodge. But Sejun appeared at exactly the right moment, catching the guy's arm and telling him to leave the man alone and walk away. The problem was that while Sejun was handling one of them, the others had moved toward his sister. throwing out the kind of lines that make you embarrassed on their behalf. That was enough to flip a switch in Sejun. He told all three of them to come at him at once. They took him up on it. They probably shouldn't have. A little while later, faces swollen and thoroughly rearranged, all three were apologizing. Hyunjun went over to check on the homeless man, who said he was fine, that getting beaten was basically part of his daily routine, and thanked the kid for stepping in. Then Samin cut the moment short, calling Hyunjun over. She told him she had no idea what he'd been planning, but that if they headed back now, none of this would need to be reported. They could keep it quiet. Meanwhile, Samin was on the phone with Yuseong, explaining that she'd found the fugitive, but couldn't come back right away. Something had come up. They needed to make a quick stop first. Yusong said that was fine, but told her there was a bigger problem on their end. The warden was already in a jeep, heading out for an inspection of the public service area. The clock was running. The group arrived at the hospital and parked the bikes. Hyunjun's father was on the 16th floor, the kind of floor that doesn't get used for ordinary patients. As it turned out, the hospital itself belonged to Hyunjun's family, one of several they owned. Sejun found this increasingly hard to process. The guy had already mentioned his father owned the EVA world and the Dottie Tower, and Sejun had written it off as exaggeration. He wasn't so sure anymore. When they stepped off the elevator on the 16th floor, Sejun noticed the hallway was lined with security. He actually wondered if they'd gotten off on the wrong floor. But Hyunjun walked out calmly and told him he'd never been lying about any of it. And the moment his feet hit the corridor, every single guard bowed. Hyunjun politely asked to see his father. Back on his end, Yusong was tracking Hyunjun's location on GPS. The warden still had about 2 hours of travel ahead of him, but probably not enough time. So Yusong started working on ways to slow him down. First, a military night exercise, a tank flying the Korean flag parked squarely in the road. Then, after the driver found a detour, a cycling group blocking the only remaining route with no alternative around it. The warden, as it happened, used to be president of the local cycling club, so at least he wasn't furious about it. But these were small delays. Yusong knew he was buying minutes, not hours, and that whatever was happening inside that hospital needed to wrap up fast. Inside, a white-haired man stood with his back to the window. Hyunjun said he'd heard his father had collapsed and asked if he was all right. The man explained he was fine, just keeping a low profile while certain people tried to corner him. Hyunjun smiled, said he'd been worried and that he was relieved to hear it. Then the man turned and asked what Hyunjun was doing there at all. He was supposed to be in the reformatory. Hyunjun said he'd been worried, that his father had promised to get him out quickly, and then went silent. The man's response was blunt. Wasn't it natural to be punished after what he'd done? Running around in a group, beating other kids, doing things no decent person should do, and going even further than that, taking someone's life. Even with all his influence in politics and business, that wasn't something you could just make disappear. Hyunjun said he was right. If he'd done something wrong, he should be punished. But then his voice broke. He said that yes, punishment made sense, but that wasn't actually what had happened, because on the day of the incident, he hadn't been alone. So he asked quietly why he was the one being punished, and not Hyung. Hyunjun's childhood wasn't just unhappy, it was a lesson in how a family decides who matters and who doesn't. He and his sister ate at a separate table, with fewer dishes, while his grandfather, father, and older brother Hyung sat apart like royalty. When someone at that table wanted water, his sister was the one who got up to fetch it. She wasn't a guest in that house, she was staff. And when Hyung treated her badly, their grandfather's response was to scold her for not showing enough respect to his grandson. After getting slapped, she was expected to apologize with a smile. Hyunjun remembers Hyung beating him once for getting better grades, furious that now he'd have to study harder to keep up. Their sister stepped in and hit Hyung back, hard enough to draw blood. Hyung ran straight to their grandfather, and for defending her little brother, she was the one who got punished. That night, Hyunjun found her lying on the floor of her room in the dark, face badly bruised, asking him not to turn on the light. They held each other, and she told him that one day their grandfather would see their worth too. So they studied, they worked. Time passed. Hyung, meanwhile, went the other direction entirely. He ran with the wrong crowd, hurt people, and eventually got caught trafficking drugs and wasn't even slightly worried about it because grandfather would fix it. That was always the answer. Then their sister got into university. Their grandfather seemed proud for exactly one moment before grabbing her by the arms and explaining that as the eldest daughter, she had obligations, specifically to do whatever was needed to cover for Hyung. If she refused, he'd ask Hyunjun instead. That day, she walked into traffic. Nobody in the family treated it as a tragedy. She ended up in a vegetative state, and they blamed her for every crime Hyung had committed. Hyunjun was still trying to make sense of it when he saw Hyung in the hallway, kicking a boy down a flight of stairs. Hyung had decided this kid was responsible for exposing his crimes, and by extension, for what happened to their sister. The boy died, and Hyung's only reaction was that it was deserved. Hyunjun, panicking, asked what they were supposed to do now. Hyung leaned in and told him he already knew. He did know, and so Hyunjun took the fall. He was arrested, and Hyung told him their father, president of the Yuksung group, would get him out quickly. That was a lie. Their father did nothing. Hyunjin endured everything in silence, telling himself it was punishment for failing to protect his sister. Now he's standing in front of his father, saying exactly that. He accepts responsibility for not protecting her, but Hyung needs to answer for what he actually did. His father's response is that Hyung will inherit the family business, and since Hyunjun also benefited from being born into this family, he should accept the sacrifices that come with it. Sejun has heard enough. He cuts in, tells the man those words shouldn't be said without shame, and pulls Hyunjun toward the door. Semin backs him up. Real family doesn't force sacrifices, and honestly, the reformatory sounds better than this room right now. They don't make it out. Hyung walks in, grandfather at his side. Elsewhere in the reformatory, the night is still moving. Seonil is wandering the corridors, hands in his pockets, thinking. He overhears two inmates talking. One of them has filled his merit points and is already planning for life after release. He wants a vehicle maintenance license, a small garage someday. He even offers his friend a job, on the condition that the friend stops causing trouble and earns his own points first. Seonil recognizes him, Ha Sung-chol, who came in acting like the world owed him something. Now the guy has a 5-year plan. Seonil finds himself thinking that maybe what actually changes a young person isn't an adult with authority. It's another young person who figured something out first. Nearby, someone else is moving through the building, watching and waiting until the vice director steps away. Now might be the right time to start. Back at the hospital, the guards are still posted at the door. Hyung is surprised to see Hyunjun outside the reformatory. Their father tries to smooth things over, but Hyunjun makes clear he didn't want to be here either. He came because he had to. Hyung, unbothered, mentions almost in passing that he beat someone up while drinking, but nobody knows it was him yet. Their grandfather moves toward Hyunjun immediately, framing it as another opportunity to do his brother a favor. Then Hyung notices Semin. He doesn't think, he just grabs her, says he likes her style. Sejun goes rigid. Semin doesn't hesitate. She swings her helmet directly into Hyung's face and sends him flying. Sejun and Hyunjun stare. So do the grandfather and the father. Semin looks down at Hyung, and in a voice that leaves no room for interpretation, asks where exactly he thought he was putting his hand, and whether he wants to find out what comes next. The grandfather's reaction to Semin knocking his grandson away is immediate. He starts screaming at her, calling her every name he can think of. Semin doesn't flinch. She shrugs it off and points out the obvious. His grandson had his hands on her, and apparently the old man missed that part entirely. Both the grandfather and Hyung's father are stunned by how she talks back, and they want to know exactly how she was raised. Semin gives them a straight answer. Her parents divorced early, she was homeschooled, and she learned the basics. Don't fight with your siblings, share, know when to give ground. She then notes, without much warmth, that the prodigy Hyung seems to have skipped all of that. The grandfather admits his hearing isn't great and asks his son to translate. His son doesn't bother. He just points at the door and tells them to leave while he's still being polite about it. That's when Hyung gets up and makes it clear they're not going anywhere. He grabs an IV stand and swings it at Semin. Sejun panics. The grandfather, meanwhile, is practically cheering. The stand is about to connect with Semin's face, and then the scene cuts. In the detention facility, one of two boys doing maintenance work steps out to use the bathroom. The other keeps working, opens up a fan unit, and finds nothing wrong with the wiring. He assumes his friend is back when he hears someone enter the room. He keeps talking, says he hopes his friend will look after the maintenance crew once they're released, since he's the only one he trusts. He notices the silence, wonders if his friend got emotional. Before he can turn around, something heavy connects with the back of his head. Back at the hospital, the guards hold their posts. Hyung is furious, swearing and swinging, but his brother has stepped between him and Semin. Hyunjun says he's not leaving because he's done watching people around him get hurt. Hyung raises the stand again and asks if his little brother needs to be disciplined too. Sejun moves to intervene. Then someone else gets there first. It's their father, and he slaps Hyung clean across the face. The grandfather can't believe what he just saw. He shouts his son's name. Hyunjun stares. The grandfather starts hitting his own son to correct him, but it doesn't land the way he intends. Hyung is in shock. His father has never hit him before. The grandfather moves to comfort him, but the father's voice cuts through everything. He tells them all to stop, because he has had enough. He's watched his eldest daughter's life fall apart because of Hyung. He watched his younger son get sent to a reformatory, and through all of it, he kept believing Hyung would grow up. That belief had a cost. But at the end of the day, they're all his children. Hyunjun's eyes fill with tears. The father bows, a real, deliberate bow, and apologizes for being a negligent father. He says he'll take responsibility for Hyung's behavior from now on, and he'll get Hyunjun out of the reformatory. The grandfather loses it. He starts slapping his son repeatedly, demanding to know who gave him permission to make make that call. Then he turns to the guards at the door and orders them to take everyone in the room into custody. There are a lot of guards. Back at the reformatory, the attacker crouches over the boy he just put down. He tells him that since all he ever wanted was to get out, he technically did him a favor. The fractures are bad enough that life outside will be a different experience now. Then he hears footsteps. Ha Seung-cheol is coming back from the bathroom. The attacker notes that Seung-cheol was on the list too, and decides to wrap things up quickly. Seung-cheol walks in. He sees the red on the floor. He doesn't get long to process it. Elsewhere in the facility, Min-soo is in the bathroom, anxious about how long the other boys are taking. He knows they need to beat the guard back, and if things go wrong, he'll have to buy time somehow. Someone approaches him, a boy who says he wants to help. Min-soo asks why. The boy says he misjudged him. He'd assumed anyone wearing the red prison uniform was bad news, but what Min-soo did during the collapse proved otherwise. Min-soo asks if he hates the red uniform too. The boy says he doesn't want to go back to what he was, a candidate who fought whenever someone told him to. He says as long as he's not fighting, he's available. Min-soo appreciates the gesture. He just wishes the kid had picked a better moment to have this conversation. Back in the maintenance room, the tool hits the floor. The attacker stands over 2 bodies, and a guard who got caught in it as well. His hands are red. The damage is severe. Seon-il lights a cigarette alone in a corner, letting the smoke do the thinking for him. A guard walks over and points out he'd quit. Seon-il tells him his colleague would pick it back up too, if he'd been through an unfair trial. The guard admits he was gone so long that people started wondering if he'd switched sides and joined the director. The vice director puts a hand on his shoulder and says, "That's actually useful. It's exactly why they assigned the guard to watch him." What hasn't come up yet is the red prison uniforms, and Seon-il notes that silence might be the director's biggest vulnerability. He asks whether they found Moon Hyunjun because he heard the guard screaming into the phone. The vice director warns that if the director finds out, he'll use management negligence as a shield, so the smart move is to act like nothing happened. Yusong bought them time by delaying the director's arrival, so the incident needs to be wrapped up before he lands. Seon-il says that would be ideal, but things have a way of not going ideally. Right on cue, a helicopter appears overhead. His colleague tells him he's going to check on Hyunjun's whereabouts and heads off, leaving Seon-il with very few options left to stall. The director spots the vice director from above and waves down at him cheerfully. Somewhere nearby, a guard is contorting himself into an awkward pose trying to get the shot right. The director and another man holding up a generous check for flood relief. There's a photo with Min-soo too, which the director is clearly milking for every point it's worth. The guard tells him the photo looks great because the subject is so photogenic. Then the protagonist walks over and asks, point blank, whether they're really getting 50 merit points, because that's more than voluntary service. The director says 50 is actually underselling it, given that the kid saved a life and the press coverage will be solid. He adds that the release review isn't far off and encourages him to keep pushing just a little longer. Internally, the director knows that review is never happening. Back in the room where the attacks took place, the injured guard's phone starts ringing. He can't answer it. Seon-il starts to feel uneasy. The man should have been back by now, and if he doesn't show up soon, things are going to unravel fast. The director notices Ga Sejun is missing and says they need a photo with him too. Min-soo covers, saying Sejun probably has a stomachache. The director mentions he didn't see anyone in the bathroom, so Min-soo says he must have gone upstairs. The director tells the vice director to go check. Something feels off. Seon-il at this point has quietly accepted that getting caught is probably inevitable. He laughs it off, stops trying to reach his colleague, and lets it go. The director asks why he's just standing there instead of going after the kid. Seon-il tells him there's no need, because the kid is standing right behind him. Sejun apologizes for being late, and the relief on Min-soo's face is immediate. Sejun explains he took longer in the bathroom. Constipation, he says, completely straight-faced. Then we see what actually happened, a few minutes earlier at the hospital. When the security team moved in on the boys, Hyunjun's father stepped in front of them and told them to stand down. Behind him, the grandfather was shouting that anyone who disobeyed would be fired. The guards held their ground anyway. They answered to the president. The grandfather shot back that the man is only acting as president and that he ultimately answers to him, and that once he reclaims the position, things will go back to how they were. That's when the father reached his limit. He grabbed his father by both arms and told him, with everything he had, to stop. The old man couldn't understand why his son was acting this way. Everything he'd done was for the eldest grandson's sake, but the father laid it out plainly. That grandson sold out his own siblings without a second thought. His innocent eldest daughter is now in a vegetative state. Hyunjun ended up in a reformatory, and yet they are also his grandchildren. They are also precious to him. The grandfather didn't hear it. He said this is exactly why the other siblings need to understand that the eldest must succeed for the family. Then the guards pulled him away on the president's orders, and the father promised Hyunjun he would find a way to get him out. As the boy turned to leave, the man told him simply that he was glad to see him well. Back in the present, Sejun is in the photo with the director. Min-soo quietly asks Hyunjun what happened, whether it's resolved. Hyunjin says yes and apologizes for the trouble. Minsu pulls him into a hug and tells him not to feel bad about it. Now they just need to stack their merit points and get out of there. Then a loud noise cuts through everything. Everyone near the photo op hears it. Minsu and Hyunjin run toward the sound and end up just outside the room where the attacks happened. One of the guards is screaming. The two boys move closer to look, and what Minsu sees stops him cold. Two bodies on the ground. Seonil immediately orders the boys out and moves to check on the guard. Shin Jusup has no pulse. The vice director can't make sense of what he's looking at. Taegu Hyung, on the other hand, is still showing signs of life. Sung Chol asks who did this. The boy says he couldn't see clearly, but he gets one word out: civil. The attacker was from the civil engineering group, and they had one distinctive feature, the boy manages to add: long hair. The boy managed to give them something to work with. Long hair, civil engineering. That's when the ambulance call gets announced, and the director pivots fast, turning the whole thing into an interrogation about Ga Sejun's whereabouts. The accusation is barely veiled. Hyunjin panics and tries to defend Sejun, but the long-haired guy cuts him off, and the moment that happens, Hyunjin's face says everything. He can't believe his friend is going to let this happen. If Sejun stays quiet and runs, he doesn't just look guilty, he looks like a killer. Minsu steps in too, insisting the description doesn't add up to Sejun. And he actually has something. He remembers a long-haired guy who fell asleep on his shoulder during the community service ride, sat right next to him. Minsu even remembers his name, Hayoshin. But Seonil checks the records on his phone and comes up empty. No long-haired inmates on the public service roster. No one named Hyoshin. The director turns to Minsu with that look, the one that says he's already decided what's happening here, and warns him that covering for a friend is a fast way to end up in the same trouble. The vice director starts wondering if this whole setup was the director's plan from the start. Sung Chol, still holding his friend, works through what's being said out loud, and lands on the conclusion they're all pushing him toward. Ga Sejun is the suspect. He loses it completely, throws a punch straight at the long-haired guy's face. The guards grab him immediately, but he keeps going, shouting that Sejun did everything right, that he was about to be released, that he never caused a single incident. They drag him out, still yelling. The ambulance arrives right after. By the next morning, when the inmates returned from community service, the outcome was already set. Sejun was sent to solitary pending the investigation, and he wasn't alone. Sung Chol got the same punishment for the assault, and he was so consumed by rage that all he could think about was getting back at Sejun. Park Tae-gu, the maintenance team leader, was transferred to a hospital. He'd survive, but the nerve damage to his arm meant his fine motor control was gone. Word was he'd been close to release. Then there's the funeral. A military salute, a grave, a child telling their father not to cry, promising to take care of their mother. The woman breaks down. Every staff member from the reformatory came to pay their respects to the guard who died. The director kept his eyes down the whole time, not meeting anyone's gaze. Yu Xiong was there too, watching, and Seonil couldn't shake the feeling that something about all of it was deeply off. He's the first to say they should leave. Yu Song clocks every move he makes. Back at the reformatory, Seonil walks the corridors and gradually slows until he stops completely. He leans against the wall, slides down, and ends up on his knees on the floor, apologizing to guard Shin. Elsewhere in the building, Minsu is working with wood and a saw, turning things over in his head. Sejun is in solitary, Shin is dead, and Minsu is certain the guy with the long hair is behind all of it. He remembers the face clearly. What he can't figure out is how the guy just vanished. Bucktooth walks over and tells him he doesn't even need to ask what's bothering him. It's obvious. And then he lays it out. There's been a pattern. Young inmates who've earned merit points or who are close to release keep ending up crippled. And there's only one person who could erase someone named Park Hayoshin from every record, the director. Which means this whole thing likely runs through the red uniforms. Cut to a restricted area, guards posted outside. Inside, two people are talking, relieved to be back, complaining that hiding somewhere without the vice director knowing was suffocating. Now the vice director is suspended, working from home indefinitely, because someone has to take the fall for what happened. Someone caused the accident. Someone else gets the punishment. Park Hayoshin calls it a 2-for-1. The director got rid of the vice director and got a scapegoat at the same time. Then someone swirling a drink asks if it isn't about time they picked their next target. The other one says there's really only one option, Lee Min-soo. Ha Seung-chil refused, so they had to remove him from the equation. Park Hayoshin says he's already got an idea for how to handle it. Seung-chil is furious about what happened to the maintenance leader, so why not use that? Point him at Min-soo and let the two of them destroy each other. Park Hayoshin cuts his own hair off. He notes it's a shame, took a long time to grow. Then he puts his uniform back on, looks like a different person, and asks if it's time to start. A few days later, Ha Seung-chil gets out of solitary. He's taken his friend's place as the new leader of the maintenance crew. Hyoshin, unrecognizable with his new look, approaches Seung-chil under the pretense of needing help with a repair. While Sung-cheol walks him through it, Hyoshin plays innocent, asking if he's the leader, then warning him to watch his back. Lee Min-soo, he says, has been eyeing the maintenance crew for a while. He already took the kitchen team, then civil engineering, and the word going around is that maintenance is next. The plan, apparently, is to unite every team under the red uniform, which puts Sung-cheol directly in the crosshairs. Hyoshin frames it all as rumors, just something people are saying, but the timing makes it hard to dismiss as gossip. The other guys in the area go wide-eyed, because right on cue, the subject of those rumors walks in. Min-soo steps through the door, and a crowd immediately forms around him, demanding to know if it's true, some of them making it clear they won't just stand by while he goes after their leader. Min-soo defends himself. He never signed up for their crew. Someone set him up, and the person who attacked the old leader wasn't Sejun. Then he scans the room and stops. Someone nearby looks familiar, the guy who fell asleep on his shoulder during public service detail. Min-soo grabs him by the collar and calls him out. Park Hyoshin, the one who crippled the maintenance leader. The crowd isn't convinced. The guy has short hair and doesn't belong to the civil engineering crew. Someone grabs Min-soo's arm and tells him to stop. It's Ha Sung-cheol. He's got work to finish, and if the two of them want to fight, they can do it later. Until then, Min-soo should stay out of the way and stop disrupting things over nothing. The crew falls back in line and gets back to work. Outside the reformatory, it's the height of summer. A dead cicada on the pavement makes that clear enough. Then a girl steps on it without breaking stride. She's pale, marked up, one eye swollen shut, clearly been through something. She walks to a nearby pile of trash, leaves a bag there with a look that doesn't belong on someone just dropping off luggage, and walks away like nothing happened. A few seconds later, she bursts out laughing. The bag sits there. Then the zipper shifts, and a pair of eyes peers out from inside. A salvage crane moves slowly toward it. Park Hyoshin opens his eyes. He's back in the present, staring up at a ceiling of white lights. His thoughts are simple and bleak. In this world, if you're useless, you get thrown away. If you're a burden, same thing. If you're weak, same thing. He checks his phone. A message telling the maintenance crew's guards to temporarily stand down. Right on schedule, the guards announce a brief assembly and clear out. With no one watching, Min-soo and Ha Sung-cheol are face to face. Hyoshin thinks about how he got here, made himself useful, stayed off the discard pile. Min-soo moves first, throwing Sung-cheol's earlier promise back at him, the one where he said he'd help with anything, as long as it didn't involve fighting. Sung-cheol's answer is that this doesn't qualify as help by any definition. Hyoshin watches the fight and wonders which of the two ends up being the one who gets thrown away. Both of them are going all out. Then, without warning, they stop fighting each other and hit Hyoshin at the same time. He didn't see that coming. Neither did anyone else. The two of them stand side by side, staring him down. The night ends with Hyoshin on the ground and the two boys standing over him. Min-soo's plan is simple. Hand him over to the guards and let the truth come out. But before that can happen, someone walks in and kills the mood entirely. A red uniform. Everyone in the room knows what that means, and nobody looks happy about it. The guy wearing it is young, blonde, almost relaxed, and the first thing he does is comment that he expected better from Hyoshin. Hyoshin recognizes the voice immediately. The blonde tells him he came to collect him, then asks with a smile if his old colleague is glad to see him. Min-soo cuts in and says he's not handing Hyoshin over to anyone. He needs him to clear his friend's name. The blonde's response is almost bored. He's not here to rescue anyone. He and Hyoshin aren't close like that. But the kid did cause a lot of problems. That lands hard, because Hyoshin suddenly remembers something. A conversation about how the murder during a public event made the vice director untouchable, but also made the whole incident a liability. A liability that points back to the director, which means Hyoshin, who knows too much, needs to disappear. He puts it together fast, maybe too fast, because his next move is to throw a punch at the blonde. The blonde doesn't even blink. He sidesteps it without effort, says he was hoping Hyoshin had a functioning brain, and then puts him on the floor with one hit. Hard enough that Min-soo just stands there processing what he saw. He couldn't even track the dodge. The blonde grabs Hyoshin by the hair and starts dragging him out, mentioning he has things to do. Min-soo tells him he's not leaving. The blonde's answer is a kick to the head, fast enough that Min-soo doesn't see it coming, but he takes it, stays up, and comes back swinging. The blonde keeps deflecting, genuinely curious now, asking if Min-soo trained with someone or figured it out on his own. He calls it a good sign that he picked him as a candidate. Min-soo makes it very clear what he thinks about being anyone's candidate. He says it loud, and one of his punches actually grazes the blonde's face. Then he announces, at full volume, that he's going to tear down every red uniform in this place. The blonde catches his arm, sweeps his leg, and drops him with a clean follow-up shot. Sung-cheol watches from the side, stunned. One exchange, and Min-soo is on the ground. The blonde acknowledges he's strong enough to skip the candidate stage entirely and go straight to red uniform. Min-soo, still trying to get up, tells him exactly where he can put that offer. He's not going to be anyone's weapon. The blonde smiles and says that's fine. Then the other red uniforms step in, and the remaining inmates don't last long. When the dust settles, Kang Min is standing there adjusting his glasses, saying he learned something valuable today. The whole room is down, and then Minsu sees him, Gasejun, standing with the red uniforms. He can't hold it together. He demands to know why his friend is wearing that uniform. The blonde explains it simply. They always had two candidates. When Minsu refused, the other one said yes. Minsu looks straight at Sejun and asks him directly. Sejun doesn't answer. He just keeps walking as the others carry Hyoshin out. Minsu stays on the ground, surrounded by bodies, and keeps asking why. Nobody answers. Across town, the scene is quieter. Semin is fixing Yu Seong's tie. Apparently this is a recurring thing, and asks what the occasion is. His father wants to introduce him to someone important. She squeezes his cheeks and tells him to look less miserable about it. He apologizes, says he's just worried because there's been no news from the reformatory. She holds him and tells him she gets it, that she's worried too, but they have to hold it together and do their part from the outside. He agrees. Then she asks about the investigation, the real culprit who framed Minsu. The lead is a limited edition sneaker, 50 pairs never sold domestically, which makes the distribution almost impossible to trace. The only real option is finding someone who saw those shoes in person. Expensive sneakers get noticed, so it's not a dead end, and they've put out a reward for information. Then Semin's phone lights up. Someone's asking if the reward is real, because they saw those shoes at school.